All right, good evening, everyone. Welcome to episode 15, Pours with Patriots, and I'd like to welcome my guest, Big 15. It's a good number. Former Army Staff Sergeant Bobby Buher. See that we're practicing that Buher. It's like Buher. We're Bueller. We're just that's what funny. I was telling right before we went live. That was the one thing I thought I'd mess up. So thanks for coaching me along. And one of the things we'll start off real quick with Bobby is actually Bobby is in the industry, and we're gonna talk a little bit about it.
Yeah,
we'll probably talk a lot about it. We got a lot. If you haven't seen, we're probably gonna talk about Maker's Mark, the U.S. Army, some other things. So welcome to episode 15. One of the funny things he asked, because everyone that's been watching for episode 15 and all the episodes, is we now start always with the quote. And Bobby actually cheated and was looking at on the computer beforehand. It was like, did you actually find an air defense artillery quote? I'm not starting off with an air defense artillery quote, but I did find. I think it's pretty close to being one.
That's fair.
So it goes back to more of my time range. But that was a question before I get to the quote. Do you consider yourself an artilleryman?
No, we have like that little friendly rivalry with the artillery. Right. So yeah.
That's what I figured, and that's what I thought. But it is very hard. This is one of the hardest ones. It's pretty sad that we're making jokes. He's an air defense artilleryman. That's harder to find a quote than about the band, Marine Corps, that Marine band, Army band. So I think you might have chose really, really poorly when it comes to having quotes. But the first quote I'll do, it is artillery. I'll still lump them in together because they do have a very vital mission. And the first quote is, in many situations that seem desperate, the artillery has been a most vital factor. And that was from General Douglas MacArthur. So that can be applied to the air defense artillery. We'll talk about, more of my generation of the Desert Storm.
Yeah. And I think it's a little applicable to my time in, especially when we talked about the CRAM stuff. So
right. Yeah, that's cool. So yeah, we do. I'm excited now to show you that I think I have an air defense artillery quote. He actually brought his own quote. He's the first one that brought his own quote. I'm looking forward to it. So as most people are learning, Bobby we have another Army guy in the house, which is awesome. It's always good to keep the Army flag up in the background. It's always pains me when I have to put up the other branches, especially the Air Force. Part of my soul dies.
Marines were good.
Yeah, so part of my soul dies every time I have to take that down and put that up there. So thank you for choosing the correct branch.
Got it.
So we will start off. I feel bad. We're going to keep talking a little bit. So Jason is not here tonight, so we're not going to go right into the first featured whiskey. He's always pressuring me, so he's not here to pressure me. So we'll talk a little bit about you first, and then we'll naturally get into the first featured whiskey. If you haven't already seen, the thread is Maker's Mark, and we have a lot of Maker's Mark stuff to talk about, and that's kind of the reason we brought you on as well. So Bobby is actually an Ohio kid.
Yes, sir.
Grew up in Cleveland.
Yes, sir.
Until you're about 10, and then went to Strongville, right?
Correct. Yeah, we were 120th in Lorraine, right down there in Cleveland off 117th. Grew up there till about 12 years old, 10, and then moved to Strongsville at 5th grade, and group still there. Parents are still there, same house. So still there. I live in Brunswick, which is just south neighboring city, high school rivals, which is kind of funny. But yeah, we've been in Brunswick for 9 years, and yeah, love it.
And what's cool about Bobby is he's actually, I think, the first guest we've had that's native Ohioan that actually didn't go to the Guard, the Ohio Army, the Army or Air Force Guard here in Ohio. You actually went active duty.
Correct.
We kind of blew it earlier, making fun of you a little bit about what you chose, but you actually chose to go in as a 14J, which is the Air Defense C4I Tactical Operations Center Enhanced Operator. That is like a cool. So what the hell does that mean in the layman terms?
It's not nearly as cool as it sounds. So basically, the original job scope, which you just read, included short-range air defense, so operating a sentinel radar and tracking for enemy air threats. Well, obviously, OEF didn't have enemy air threats, so they retasked air defense with what we know now as CRAM, which is Counter Rocket Artillery Mortar, and we were retasked with that and given that mission in, I want to say it was December of 2004. Great timing right before the holidays. Right. So we were given deployment orders, and then coming in that following year in 2005, it was hit the ground running with training, experimenting with the different weapon systems and radars and stuff like that. So yeah, so it became that job scope doesn't exist anymore, right. At least as far as I know. So it's more dedicated towards that CRAM.
Right. And then what's exciting, like I said, he's actually went active duty, so went to basic training, Fort Jackson.
Correct.
Right.
Yes, January 2004.
So South Carolina, great state. And then
Yeah.
you actually got to go to, I think, is actually one of the worst military installations at Fort Bliss, Texas.
Fort Bliss, Texas. That's where AIT was. It's right on the other side of the border from Juarez, which was
which is the last time I've been to Mexico was in Juarez, but because I was visiting Fort Bliss, and I will never go back to
there's
Juarez
no reason
again.
to ever go back to Fort Bliss. No. But I will say it was a great group down there. We had a good time. I was supposed to actually be there originally 20 weeks, but they after 10 weeks we completed the SHORAD part of the training, and me and another guy got graduated and pushed out to Fort Lewis. And after a couple months, it kind of made sense why. So
what was worse, Jackson or Bliss?
Bliss.
Yeah.
Bliss was awful. I mean, it was just not, even at basic, you're not doing anything, you're in training, you're not doing anything. Yeah. Bliss, even when you had free time, there was nothing to do. It was even worse. Like, at least at basic, you were engaged and always doing something. You had like this free time and you look around and you're just like, there ain't shit.
Well, I was always shocked because I didn't go there when I was active duty. I actually went there when I got out of the Army, my civilian job, and we were there for a project at Fort Bliss. And what I remember is I didn't realize how close to Mexico was. Yeah. So it's like literally like you could throw a rock into Mexico and Juarez, and like it's just not the greatest. It's like everything you see in the movies. It was not,
There's a reason Fort Bliss you could drink at 18 as a soldier on base because they didn't want you going to Juarez. So if you were on base, you could go to the PX and buy beer and you could drink as long as you were 18. So that was so they could try and keep you from going to Juarez.
And I actually remember when I was leaving there at the airport there, I can't remember what it was, but which is crazy. I was flying back to Dallas. So a lot of people are like, why don't you drive? Fort Bliss is so far away from, like, Texas is so huge. That's what people don't realize is like, there's no way I'm going to drive that. So we're on a plane and one of my colleagues is sitting there in the airport, and this TSA guy comes up and is like, hey, we're doing training with this money dog. Would any of you like to volunteer to put this money on your persons? And the dog is going to be coming here in the next like 30 minutes, and see if the dog can find it. And I'm like, there's no way I'm doing that. Because like, I'm thinking like, this can't be like, it's either gonna be like a tiny little, one of those tiny little like Cocker Spaniel dogs, or it's gonna be a gigantic German Shepherd. But then again, I'm like, forget that.
I'm good on that.
Yeah. So this guy volunteers, and the guy's dressed in like business casual, sure. and the guy gives him the money, and he says, hide this anywhere. And it was a good stack of money. And the first thing the guy does is initially like takes it and like thumps it. And the guy's like, they're all ones. It's not like we're going to give you $100 bills. He's like, just hide it and do it. So the guy hides it and like put it under his shirt and his belt and all this kind of stuff. And then this dog comes in and they start giving all these commands. And the dog is at first, I'm like, I don't think he's going to find it. And then all of a sudden the dog literally bolts to this guy, gets up on the seat, is like, the reason why it is drooling, like, you know what I mean? Just like, and then sits down and goes, but the guy's shirt is just covered in pants and dog slobber. And then I was shocked. I was like, what do you guys do this for? He's like, one was a deterrent because of all the money that they're trying to get out of this area. And then the other thing is actually for training. But he's like, yeah, we've caught, he said this dog has caught people with like $1.2 million, that I'm exaggerating, but a ton of money on them to try to get out of the Fort Bliss area, which was kind of funny. So
yeah, it was not a very cool area. I would not go back there.
Yeah, a lot of Texas is like that, though. I mean, to be honest, I've lived in Texas a long time, but there's not some good places in Texas. There's not some good places in any branch that you get stationed at.
Fort Hood.
You've been to Fort Hood?
No, we went through Fort Hood. We were there for I think a day, maybe two, but that was it. It was on our way out. Yeah. In 05.
So now we're gonna get Jason. We're gonna get into the first whiskey. See how we like got to know him a little bit. Jason always wants to jump into the first whiskey. So our first featured whiskey, for all those who haven't seen the podcast, the previous post in the group today, we're going to talk about Maker's Mark Private Selection. I'm sorry, and Maker's Mark Private Selection is actually a Jim Beam product, and we'll talk about that a little bit more. They're owned by. I'm sorry, Beam Suntory. Beam Suntory. I'm sorry, I messed up. I had in my mind some questions I'm going, but it's owned by Beam Suntory. It's actually the distillery is actually in Laredo, Kentucky. Its origins go back to 1953 when Bill Samuels purchased the distillery in 1953. Correct. And then the first run of Maker's Mark, which most of us know about it, the Red Wax, I think came out in about 1958. And there's a lot of stuff to talk about. It was funny. What I love about when I research this is Maker's is one of those, it's such an old brand. And there's so many facts about it.
Oh, so yeah.
It was
like, you know who designed the bottle, right?
What's that?
Who designed the bottle?
His wife.
Yeah,
his wife did, yeah.
His wife.
And then and the other thing was interesting. If you look at the bottle now, like there's a few other American distillers that use that don't have the E in there. Maker's still has that whiskey without an E,
Mm-hmm.
and which is kind of interesting. And then there's kind of rumors like if you know about Maker's Mark has 0 rye in it. Rye is a no-no, and there's a lot of like folklore. One of the stories is that Bill didn't have time to test out and age all his products, so he made all these mash bills with bread, and then the most popular one was the one bread that had no rye in it, and that's the mash bill that he ran with. So I wonder how true that is. Is that?
It's true, and it's and he used red winter wheat. So that's the other point.
Yeah, we'll talk about more of that with the mash bill. So they did change it out. So what's interesting about this, we've got some brands up here, but everybody pretty much, if you're into whiskey, you know about Maker's Mark and the normal red, the red wax label. It's pretty known, but they have some other great products that we have out here, and we'll talk about some more. But they have the Maker's 46 cast strength, Maker's 101, and then one of the whiskeys we'll talk about today is the Maker's Mark Private Selection Program, which took its legs from Maker's Mark cast strength, which came out in about 2010, right?
So it got its idea. From Maker's 46, right, actually. So when that innovation came, they kind of spidered off of that and developed the private select program off of that wood stave finishing process.
Right. So if you've never had these, if you've never seen one, we're going to open. You ready to have a pour?
Yeah.
I haven't had this one. But so the Maker's Mark Private Selection, came at the heels of the Maker's 46 process. So what they take is Maker's 46 cast strength. You take.
You want me to take it?
No, combination of what?
You want me to explain it?
Yeah, you do it. You're the pro. Yeah, go ahead. I just want to sit back and drink now. We have the pro over here, so I'm just sitting back and drink now. So I'll give you the book.
So the private select program is basically when you go down to the distillery, you'll get Maker's cast strength. That's the base for your private select barrel. Then you'll go into our private select room and you'll sit with one of our private select specialists. Woody's one. I can't remember the other gentleman, Ryan, I believe. If I missed that, my bad. And you'll sit down and you'll basically craft your own whiskey. You're going to take 5 different oak staves, all that impart different characteristics onto the whiskey. You're going to pick your combination. So it could be 2-2-2-2-2, could be 3-1-2-2-1, and right. Or this one we have here, which is the first one through OHLQ that we've done, is all one stave. Right. So this one we use the roasted French Mendiant stave, which replaced our mocha stave, which is little signifier there. They were the last one to use the mocha stave before we retired it. So this one will give you a true representation of what the roasted Mendiant stave will impart exactly on your whiskey. And the taste profile is derived from like a French confection, which is a chocolate kind of disc with dried fruit and nuts.
I get the dried fruit. I get the dried fruit from it. It's kind of. But yeah, and like Bobby was talking about, I brought some other ones up here, but this is one of the older ones. But you can tell on your Maker's Mark private selections, it'll tell you the stave combination. So this one is 1 0 3 3 3. So all those numbers have to eventually end up adding up to 10.
Correct.
And they come to say that means that there's 1,001 combinations for the Maker's Mark private selection. And like we've had some private barrel picks on here in the past that we talked about. So what's interesting about this? It is considered a single barrel, but what's great about these, if you get the right flavor that you like, you can actually do that again. So you take Maker's Mark's cast strength, you put that same combination into the barrel, and you age it for 9 weeks, and you should be able to replicate exactly what.
And what's unique about it is, especially for on-premise, like we have a lot of on-premise accounts, is they'll build it specifically. One account will say, "I want this for Manhattan," so they'll sit there and build it around a specific cocktail or whatever their taste profile they like. So that's where it's unique and different.
So on-premise, just for the people, just terms as we know it is so bar, restaurant is what Bobby's referring to. And in the industry lingo, I like it. Yeah. But yeah, the Maker's Mark private sets are great. We were talking about before. I've been on a ton of barrel picks. That I feel like that day when I went down there was the most work I've ever done, because you want to pick something that's great. You want to like put all your bourbon knowledge into picking the best of the 1,001 combinations. And eventually, probably at the end of it, they're at 3 hours. They were like, "Hey guys, what do you like? What don't you like? Let me help you now. Get out."
They understand. I mean, look, you're building it. You're passionate about it. You're not doing something like this unless you're passionate about it, or and you want it to be successful. So you got to take your time with it, and they understand that. But yeah, sometimes I could see after a couple hours it could be like, all right,
and then that's another trick is if you ever go on a barrel pick, you be indecisive. Yeah. Usually, being indecisive means that you get more whiskey to try. I mean, I hate to tell you, but the more indecisive you are, you're like, I just don't know. Gosh, we are torn, especially if they're not around. You just tell everybody play indecisive. You may know what you want. Be like, we really need to try that barrel number 3 again, because
me and Woody are going to go step outside for a minute.
So that is a technique. They do know that technique. So
we're aware.
You might
we embrace it though responsibly.
And what's great about what we were talking about, the mash bill. So what's great about Makers is what I think is cool. It's one mash bill, and we talked about that before. All their product are the same mash bill.
Correct.
70% corn, 16% red winter wheat, and then the 14% malted barley. So that's in all their products. Whether you're talking about your normal 90 proof Maker's Mark, all the way up to your Maker's Mark 46 cast strength, as well as
these are all kind of floating that. They're all cast strength, so they're all going to float in that 105 to 111.
And I think there was the same. They're like usually 4.5, 5 years. What's the age?
So Maker's Mark ages everything to taste, not to age designation, like our Knob Creek 9, et cetera, et cetera. So I want to say 6 years, 8 months. I think is give or take the right wheelhouse. I may be off by a month or two. So sorry, Makers, if you're watching, but I think it was around 6 years, 8 months.
Just take the checklist. He missed that one, so give him that cue card. He's been practicing. He was looking at his notes before. Now it's hard to say, because like you said before, that is true. I forgot about it. It is more. There's a lot of things where the age state. It's really not the age of what it is. No one's really shooting for what the age is. It's more age that taste. I think a lot of people are doing
the theory behind that is you get a bottle in Shanghai or wherever, it should taste anywhere in the world. It should taste the exact same. So, but
it is. I always love them. We were, Bobby and I were talking about it. I like weeded bourbon. So this is one. Makers has always been one. Even as I started drinking, that's one of the I thought that was one of the coolest bourbons that I got back in the day when I was first starting, because it has the cool wax dipping and taking it apart, and it looks pretty awesome. So it's one of those things.
That woman's touch. His wife designed the bottle.
Yeah. And the Maker's Mark private selection is usually probably like $79, right? Is the retail most states what you're paying for?
$69.99 here in Ohio.
Is it? Okay. Good price in Ohio. And Ohio is one of the regulated states, so in some states it may be a little bit higher. And then usually the barrels come in at between 107, or your selection comes in usually about 107 to 114 proof, which is really, really good proof for
for sure. You want it to
not too high, but in a good spot. But any of the Makers products are great. If you can get your hands on any of these, they're really good. It is fun. Believe it or not, I used to think a lot of with the single barrel programs, and also with these, it's like they don't taste any different. It's amazing how differently they do taste.
And we got 5 new variants coming in November. There's like a creamy pumpkin pie, apple cider. I can't remember the others off the top of my head. And then the one Stave combination will be toasted. The toasted French spice, I believe, is the combination Stave that'll replace the Mondiant. So if you get the theory behind that is if you get the Mondiant and the toasted French spice and then the 46 cast strength, you can in theory build your own bottle or decanter bottle at home once you collect all 5.
That's interesting. Look at you guys go. Look at this.
I mean, I don't know if that's the official stance. I just kind of thought of that. So hopefully,
but they are great. If you see them, I mean, it is a what's great about Makers private select program is it's everywhere, and the problem is that it's everywhere. We were talking about that before. It's a program that's it's easy to replicate over it. I don't know if it replicates right, but easy to do. So there's a lot of them out there. But if you're out there and you see one at your local liquor store, pick it up. That you won't be disappointed, especially if you're a weeded person. You're gonna be really surprised. If you like Makers, you're gonna be even more surprised at how good they are. Because I haven't met a Maker's Mark private selection that I haven't liked.
No, it's they do very well.
Right. We have some other stuff up here to talk about. Like, I don't know if you want to go into it now, or do you want let's wait. We'll get more into it. I don't feel like we completely sold out to Makers today, but we did.
Well, I mean, I work for the brand.
I know. It is great. No, we're joking around. It's one thing, and we have a lot of stuff to give away. I initially posted that we had a backpack full of stuff. We have so much shit to give away after this episode. So we're gonna have to try to figure out what the criteria is. I think if you comment in today's post about anything, right now we're in there, I'm going to introduce you into Randomizer to win a bunch of stuff. And we've got ugly sweaters, we've got coffee mugs, we've got decanters. We'll talk about it more. We'll pull the stuff out. We got a lot of. Should we sell the ugly sweater?
Yeah, go ahead.
We have a bunch of ugly sweaters to win. These are great. A lot of stuff. So all you got to do to qualify, I'm going to make the decision right now. Is all you have to do is comment in the live thread post while we're live to be entered in there, and then I'll just figure out what the hell I'm going to send you, because we have tons of stuff. We'll do that, and we'll figure out something for the bag. The bag, we'll do something cool at the end. We'll figure that out. But yeah, we definitely have a lot to talk about with Makers. And I guess we'll keep talking more about you. That's the point of having you on, is more than talk about the whiskey, to talk about you. So we've already talked a little bit about it. You joined the field artillery. You joined the air defense artillery. What did you think about any other branches at the time? What drove you to that branch?
So actually, I did join the Navy first. So
Ooh,
I signed a
see?
contract with the
That's
Navy. It was after, excuse me, after 9/11. I had a buds in my contract. I wanted to go to SEAL school, and then I was still a junior in high school, and later into my junior year, and I kind of just had to change heart and wanted to go Army, so I switched, and I hadn't processed through anything yet, so it was just like a paperwork nightmare, I'm sure, for the recruiter, and he probably wasn't happy, but oh well,
that is a problem.
Like
that has been the theme of so many people who listen of the change of what they're going to do. Like, I wanted to do this, and then that poor recruiter. That no wonder nobody wanted to go to recruiting.
I mean, I knew that. They tried to get me going to recruiting when I wanted to get out. Like, we need to give you a recruiting post. I was like, absolutely not. I want nothing to do with that.
So what made you pick air defense?
So I went in, and I honestly want to go intel, and my ASVAB score was 1 point below what the threshold was, so they wouldn't let it go. So then I tried to go cav, and my mom and my cousin, who was in the Army at the time, they were like, he was just, don't go infantry, like do something else. So I kind of just conceded, I guess, and settled on air defense, which is probably in hindsight not the best thing to do, but going infantry probably wasn't the best move either. So, hindsight's 50, whatever. But so I just kind of settled into it, I guess, and it ended up working out pretty well because the CRAM stuff was really innovative and gave us some great experiences. So everything happens for a reason, I suppose.
Yeah, because you definitely entered I think the air defense artillery round when everything changed completely from 1991. Patriot missile,
Scud
defending against the Scuds.
Well, that's what I meant. Like the Patriot missiles were the whole direction that branch was going, and then CRAM happened, and it just kind of now we're split. So it was good.
So you said a cousin was in the military. Anybody else close to you and your
my
family? My
grandfather on both sides. My grandfather on my mother's side was Army Signal Corps. He was in World War II. I actually wear his dog tag next to mine. Which is kind of cool. He served in the Pacific. And then my other grandfather, my dad's side, he was in Fort Huachuca. So I think he was intel. I don't think he ever went into theater, though. And then my cousin, she served for a short stint, and her husband's still in. He's a sergeant major in linguistics. I'm not going to even quote I can't remember what unit. But he's a sergeant major, but he's over there in South Korea right now.
Oh, cool.
So, but yeah, just that's the only ones in our family that had served.
That's the only one. I love that. He's like the only one. He just named off like all these.
I know. I meant those are the only ones.
I know. But it's always interesting. And the theme I always ask, I have some standard questions I always ask, because it's always funny that we haven't. I think we've only maybe had one or two people that didn't have any tie into the military at all. But most people, it's someone has a tie in. So it's one of those interesting things where it's it's a grandparent or someone, a cousin, family member. But there have been a couple where they're the black sheep of the family. So your mom and your cousin talk you into not becoming a cav guy, and you become ADA. First the assignment, you go out to Fort Lewis, Washington.
Yes, sir.
Second ID, which I actually learned your unit now does not belong to the second ID.
No, they do not. So when I got there, second ID was actually deployed overseas. They were in Iraq. They were rotating back when we got the CRAM mission. Right. So we deployed over under 2ID's umbrella, but we actually fell under 101st over there from like a support standpoint.
Sorry.
And then, no, you're good. And
then, sorry for the 101st.
Oh, 101st.
That's all right.
And then the rest of our battalion, Alpha, Bravo, Delta, and Echo, were rotating out of Korea permanently back to Fort Lewis. Right. And that's kind of when we got back from Iraq in 2006, we fell in with the rest of the battalion.
Yeah, because now I think it belongs to the 31st Air Defense Brigade, 32nd Army Air and Missile Defense Command. It's way better to be. And I looked it up last night after you and I talked, and it's funny. You see if you have been the second ID, that's one of the best patches that's out there. It's gigantic. It's huge. The Indian head is.
Oh yeah.
I'm an 82nd guy through and through, but the second ID patch is pretty awesome. Mom said you did the right thing. Somebody told you. So mom's listening. She's happy.
Yeah, probably. She was stressed when I went the first time. My dad was in Israel for work, and it was when tensions were real high over there. She had a bad May of 2005. So
I think all moms. I don't know many moms that are like they're for it, but I think a part of them is like, I just wish you wouldn't have done it. But he's back. He's not as his knees pretty bad, some other things, but he made it back. Mom, good choice. I would have made it more funny if you were a cav guy, maybe. I don't know.
ADA is pretty.
We'll get
fun, but
Yeah, no, but I mean, it's took on a different role. I think the
has.
role from the time when I came in is
It
like,
definitely evolved.
yeah, some things. I mean, the one I want to get is definitely a chemical person.
A chemical,
you like chemical core. I still feel like those guys and gals are.
You have any EOD guys on yet?
No EOD guys yet. Not yet.
That would be an interesting conversation.
Yeah, we have some listeners that are in there. I think that were EOD guys. I was ordnance at the end of my career and had the opportunity. I don't know if I would have done that though. I'm not really big on my attention to detail. I don't know if it's good enough to try to figure that out.
There's just something like
my attention span might not be that good.
It's not even that. It's just if you mess up, like mistakes
happen,
man.
Like I just like a friend of mine always would talk about like if see squirrel, like I look over there and there'd be something else would distract me. I forget about. I can barely stay on the phone with some people for more than 5 minutes, let alone to be able to like diffuse something that's of importance. So yeah, I think I chose.
Not only that, but like one mistake. You're the last person to know it.
Yeah, no, that's a crazy thing. But so you were in Lewis for how many years then?
So I split time there. I got there I was thinking on the way over here. I want to say July of 2004. We deployed May of 2005 to 2006. Came back, stayed at Lewis during that year. Yeah. Well, actually, it was like 11 months off, and then redeployed again in 07 to 08, and then got
so both deployments of yours were in Iraq, right?
Yep, and okay. out of Lewis was the home base.
Which is interesting, like your time frame, both Iraq. No, like you see a lot of that. It's interesting that how many veterans have, a lot of them have split it. But when I looked at that, both from Iraq, that was kind of interesting.
It was honestly that CRAM mission. We the first tour, it was successful, so they wanted to expand on it. So that's why we had such a short turnaround and got redeployed out because we were the first unit to go out and do it. So
talk more about what CRAM means for people.
So when
counter rocket artillery and mortar.
Yeah, basically when in like late 2004, indirect fire was a massive threat overseas, mortars, rockets, not so much artillery, but those two. So DOD and whoever came up with this plan decided they were going to take a phalanx weapon system off of a naval ship, put it on a semi-trailer and roll it out to the desert, tie it in with a experimental light counter mortar radar, an air defense radar, Marine and Army artillery, and try to provide early warning on the ground for troops to take cover when indirect fire would come in. And then we would use that phalanx weapon system as asset protection for like blood bank, hospital, the talk, airfield, stuff like that. It wasn't a massive protection weapon because it only had a certain, I think it was like a 45 degree.
Yeah, but that thing, I posted a video last night. I went to bed last night. I watched about 13 videos of that thing, and just it's like brr, just like tearing apart a boat, something else. I was like, it was
wild. Because we went to
crazy. It's normally on the ship, so that system was normally for people that it's been on Navy ships for a long time.
We had 6 guys from the Navy attached to us who were the subject matter experts on that weapon system and the radar, the Sea-Wiz that was tied to it. That was the other radar that was integrated. So they were attached to our unit for the whole year, and those guys were awesome. So I
mean, that thing looks. I would love to see whatever it is was trying to shoot out of the sky or the ground. I mean, if you should watch those videos, I always find myself when you see something you watch, you're just like, oh, there's another one we watch, and the thing is like just blowing. I mean,
and it shoots
planes coming in,
20 millimeter round, which is about that big, and it's an HE round, so it explodes, and you're doing 4,200 rounds per minute.
That's crazy.
So I mean, you got 6 cannons or barrels on it, and it was pretty effective. And what's funny about it is that it took us, I want to say like 10.5 months to have our first successful engagement, because it was something that had never.
What was the first engagement?
So when we got there, we deployed the system and we got everything up and running, and it was just integrating all those systems that had never been done before. Yeah. So we were trying to do something that had never been done, and it took a long time to work out all the kinks. And, there were so many moving parts in it. A mortar comes up, it had to be correlated through multiple radars. So to verify that it was it, then we had to make sure airspace was clear. So like if one of those radars is down, or, and then you have to have somebody in the talk giving the ready to go fire, so the guy in the weapon system can engage the system. So it was just a lot of moving parts. So there was a lot of learning and a lot of failures, but finally we got it all together. And I remember being on shift that night because we deployed a second radar site, and incoming mortar and the weapon system, I want to say across the base, maybe south side, hit it, took it out, took a mortar down. So we were the first unit in military history to actually shoot a mortar down.
That is pretty cool.
Flight.
I mean, I can imagine the Navy guys probably had excitement watching you take it from a ship, and then
they were awesome.
Yeah, because they've been on ships. I didn't even look at that. When you said that yesterday and we talked a little bit, I'm like, I think it was a time as I got out, so I didn't realize they were doing that. I'm like, I remember seeing every video I've ever seen was them shooting down like an incoming aircraft, like a destroyer or like some kind of naval aircraft, or taking out some renegade boat or something.
Well, and that's what was cool, because we were working with the Navy, so it was working with a different branch, which is really cool. Because my second tour I was on a Marine base, so it was all Marines and like us 6 Army guys or our soldiers, but that was
probably cool. A good time, because you literally the 6 smartest people on that whole
no, that was great. The Marines are awesome, but it was cool just to work with those different branches, see how they operate, and ways of learning, ways of working with them, and how to learn how to do different things. So it was a really cool deployment in that sense, because you were literally doing something that had never been done before.
So how much work did it get after you guys set it up after that first mortar? Was it
10 months?
Was it pretty successful over the time you were there?
It was from a warning perspective, yes, because the warning system worked really well. It would basically, if you look at a base, you break it down into sectors. Say there's 10 sectors. If the mortar's within the point of the POO, that's what they call it, the point of origin. It's where it comes from. The POI, the point of impact. If the point of impact is within a certain area radius of those zones, you'll get a warrant. The soldiers will get a verbal warning system, like incoming, take shelter. Okay. So it'll give them. The idea was as much time as possible, maybe 5 to 10 seconds, but that's literally better than nothing.
Yeah, so it was like there was more of just a warning system rather than actually the guns going off.
Yeah, the guns were more asset protection, like I said, like blood bank, hospital, because if a mortar hits a blood bank, that's a massive problem. So, or the hospital or whatever. So we were using the weapon system mainly as asset protection, and the early warning system was for troops on the ground, because you can't cover the weapon system just couldn't cover the whole base.
I did not think you were going to be able to pull up ADAs being cool, but you actually did in the past. I mean, like his line with the first unit to shoot down a mortar with that. That's pretty tight.
I mean.
And then you were in the pictures I've seen. You have a couple of this you sent me on the side. Is it with the flight? You're wearing the Nomex suits, which always looks good for the ADA. They always look sharp, and that kind of look like a tanker. Maybe a pilot. You can't really tell.
Those were we had to wear those in Fallujah because they were flame retardant. So because the Marines, they can't wear your ACUs with us. We're like, okay.
Yeah, you might catch on fire. They look good though. The anytime with like the flight suit, the Nomex suits, they look always good.
I miss the DCUs. Well, that picture I sent you this morning from my 21st birthday.
Yeah, that was a great. I wish I had time to post that, but he did show a picture. Like a lot of the enlisted folks that have been on, and if you've been enlisted, a lot of them started off really young, and actually he got indoctrinated pretty quick when he turned 21. Yeah, which is usually a beating or something stupid.
I remember drinking O'Doul's with my NCO the night before. We got from the chow hall, the amber lager. It was not good. And then the next morning,
not good actually.
And the next morning, my platoon sergeant's like, "Hey, you got to come over to talk." And I walked in, and my entire squad was there, and I'm like, "What's up?" And
did they have any real alcohol for you though?
No.
Gosh, that is crazy. That's the second time. I forget who our guest was before. They said they were 21, and there was a place where they could get liquor, and they're like, they didn't drink liquor. I think it was Jordan. So that's interesting. Like the 21, it's like it's funny. You make a joke about it, but that's or I make a joke about it, but I think it's interesting that at 21, that's like the first thing that any 20-year-old back here in the States is like, how many bars am I to go to tonight in Columbus or whatever? And meanwhile, a lot of service members turn 21 on a ship somewhere in the middle of nowhere in some shithole.
I don't have
desert or whatever.
My 21st birthday story is an ass beating. So
yeah, but you had O'Doul's the night before.
It was great. That's the type of camaraderie you get in that environment. And, it was great.
So you got the shit kicked out of you when you turned 21. What was the first alcohol beverage you had after you got back though? Do you remember?
I think it was a Miller Lite, which is disappointing, I'm sure, at 37 and considering what I sell and do now. But I just honestly, I remember because when I got back, I was single. I hadn't met my wife yet, so I literally just went to the first PX gas station, whatever, got a 6-pack, went back to the barracks, and just had a beer, and then went out that night with some friends and to a bar, which was nice. First time able to do that, which was weird because I'd already been 21 for almost 6 months.
Yeah, so, I was gonna say, but it's a long way to wait for Miller Lite, but
yeah. I should have chosen better, but
no, I think it's funny just to bring that up to the ages. It's crazy how young we were when we all entered the military, and it's just interesting how many of those like significant life, turning 21 really isn't a big deal. Something stupid happens, they tape you to something, they beat you up, whatever, you get like some crazy thing that you remember for the rest of your life, we miss, a kid being born. All these things we miss. No, we miss all these things. It's crazy, but it's anybody in today like missing your 21st birthday. Most people are like, "That's your day," and and all that kind of stuff, which is crazy. So
5 days off, a week-long celebration.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. The weird thing I've seen lately, though, is which is because I have a 22-year-old. I have another one turning 21 here soon. Is the parent going and partying with the 21-year-old?
Yeah, I've seen that.
This is like a new thing. I'm not down with that. I think that's totally
that's odd. Like, no,
yeah,
let them go. Let them go. You can take them out after, like the next day or week, if they're not.
I've drank with my son in my house like a couple times, but him and I Saturday went to a beer festival. It's the first time that we went and drank together. And he's 20. He'll be 23 soon. It was still strange to me. Yeah. It wasn't. What was most strange is he was buying the beer, which was totally strange. That was kind of cool.
That's awesome.
And the food, I was like,
just send him on. Hey, go get me another.
Like I felt like I was like, but yeah. Then I also I had to pay $100 for his ticket. I think I still lost out with, but I felt really good that he bought me like a couple of beers. I was like, yeah, go get me a beer.
There you go.
Go get me a taco from that. Yeah, but I think I don't know what that is. So any parents, do not go drinking with your kids when they're 21.
That's weird. Let the kids go. Yeah. Enjoy it. You can take them out another time. And
I haven't seen that yet. Bartending, I bartend part-time. So
I got a long time for that. So
if you come in and see, if you're with your kid partying at 21, you're going to get a weird talk.
Just a weird look.
Yeah. Like, so you go on active duty for a little bit of a time. And then I think 2010.
Yeah, so I got out of active duty after my second stint in Fallujah and got home in May 2008, ETS in August, and then got a letter saying they were going to recall me to active duty. And so I went, and I was, no. And so I went, signed up, and did a 2-year stint in the reserves, which and they gave me like a non-deployable status for that. So
and you were in like a psychological,
psychological operations unit.
Yeah, what were you doing there? I mean, that's like a weird place for you to go.
I was trained,
and actually, the reserves. So I think you're the first person besides me that was an Army reservist, not a National Guardsman. But so you were in the second psychological operations group from Twinsburg, Ohio. So what were you doing there?
So when I got there, they were getting ready to gear up to go to Afghanistan, and they were just getting the troops ready. They asked for some experienced NCOs to help training. So me and a couple others, Sergeant French, Sergeant Kohler, we kind of put together ran the ranges, put together the training program with the command team and stuff like that. The 2-week field exercise, we ran a lot of that stuff to try and get them, ready to deploy. So that was great from that aspect to, train up some soldiers to go. But I'm not going this time. I was out. So, but yeah, that was a good experience to just kind of wrap it up and
2 and done.
Nice transition to the full-time civilian world. But yeah, 2 years and done.
So one of the things we didn't talk about was you actually hurt your knee while you were deployed, right?
Yeah. So I heard it in Iraq 05 and still jacked up to this day. Right. But yeah.
So that started what I would call your love-hate relationship with the military, medical, and VA, right? That's what
there's a love part of that?
Yeah, I had to throw that in. Like, I got to be like, yin and yang.
Look, it's not even so. The medical professionals, it's not their fault, what I mean? But the VA has just been.
I was trying to be nice. I was throwing the softball. I knew he was going to go to. He has a hate for it, which is why we have a shared hate, which I think
I feel like most veterans do at this point. It's just a disaster of chaos, and it's not organized, and it's just very frustrating. My knee was busted in 05, trying to get active duty Army doctors to x-ray it, MRI it, something. Wouldn't do it. Just flat out refused to do it because they needed me deployable. So knee surgery would have made me non-deployable for a long period of times. And they're never going to come out and say that, but let's be honest, that was a reason. And so they deployed me again in 07 with the busted knee, torn medial and lateral meniscus. So just nothing like an ACL or anything like that, but from a stability standpoint, when you're trying to do what you're doing over there, it's not. So I busted it up again, and I was dismounting a Humvee and it gave out, fell, and whiplashed my neck really bad. So ended up busting my neck up because of that too. So the knees, this is like one of those things that they actually denied me a claim for too. They're like, it wasn't service connected. I'm like, it's medically in there. Like, tried to get it MRI like 6 times, and they're just like, no.
You said something when we were talking the other day. You said that the funny thing is they wouldn't give an MRI, but they just said, hey, take more Motrin. So
take more Motrin.
That's the thing. If like of veterans, how many milligrams of Motrin we've taken? It's like
it's been your bloodstream.
It's the most dysfunctional.
Me and my wife are going through the medical records when we were filing the appeal that's sitting in a federal judge's lap for the last 2 years, which is absurd. But anyway, one doctor's note said knee pain ain't that bad. And I was like, wow, this is fantastic.
Yeah, but the more I look back, as I'm a little older, so I look at the concept of the time. Is there definitely, when I was in, so there were a lot of people that the term malingering, it came out there. There were a lot of people that were always hurt, always find. So I get that, but I always found it was funny. I actually broke a rib, water skiing on like a Saturday. When I was at Fort Hood, I was a lieutenant.
Not even a cool story.
No, it was crazy. It's like, no, I was water skiing and not water, but tubing, and I landed. I cracked. I cracked. We'll say broke, but I cracked the rib, and it was bad. So like that Saturday, I knew it was bad. So all I did was, of course, what you do is just drink more to get through it on the boat, and then Saturday, you make it through Saturday, Sunday, you're like, oh my gosh, I feel like I'm gonna die, and then Monday, you have to go to PT, so you go run PT, and then after that, I'm like, there is something wrong with me, and I need to go see
sick call.
I go to sick call, so I show up, and in PT gear, like it's changed now. Like you see some of these things where they have rank on their PT gear, but it was just everybody had the normal PT gear, and I walked up and I remember telling this medic, I was like, hey, I need to see a PA, like there's something wrong with the rib, and like the PA behind it was an aid station, like the divider's like, nothing wrong with you. Like you're trying to get out PT. I'm like, a PT's over. Like I've already had PT. And then he didn't see me. And then it's actually when I saw him, he realized who I was. I was a second lieutenant time, and he was actually a second lieutenant PA. And he was like, oh my gosh, it's Shay. And I'm like, holy Christ, you just treated me like I was some kind of crazy idiot, like that I was hurt. And he's like, you probably cracked your rib. And I got x-rays I did. And he's just, but the funny thing is, I think all they prescribed me was Motrin. And don't run for like 10 days. It's a crazy. So if anybody's been in the military, if you don't know about the 800 milligram Motrin, which I can't tell you how many I've taken of those.
Endless amounts.
I feel like if after a hard night of drinking too, my wife hates it. You take, 16, 2400 milligrams of Motrin, some water. We're all good. No, but I mean, it's, I don't know about the rest of my organs, but I feel good the next time. But so you started that. So you were hurt, banged up a little bit and still fighting that, but you get out of the reserves, Army reserves, and bounce around in security business a little bit, right?
No. So I got back and it was 2008. So the economy, as we all know, kind of went right down the gullet, and couldn't get a job. Honestly, I could not get a job anywhere. I couldn't get a security guard job. I actually had a guy in an interview tell me he was concerned my PTSD would be an issue, even though it was like, I was like, where did that even come from? So literally couldn't get a job. So I went to work for my dad. He works at a company, Secure Tech. Him and his buddy own it, or his buddy.
But that's business and home security. No.
Yeah, they do home security. I was just working in the warehouse, trying to find my footing, really. Yeah. And then I got into a local distributor up in Cleveland.
Let me ask you a question before we go back to that. What rank were you when you got out?
I was E5 when I got out of active duty, and I got promoted to staff sergeant in the reserves.
So here's a guy. This is what we talk about. Why one of the key reasons why I started doing this a few months ago is here's an E6 who has 2 deployments to Iraq, has seen a lot of stuff, led some of the things, and they come back to the States and they can't find a job. It's the craziest thing. Those things are still happening. I just had a meeting with my company now, and they talked about, we had a hiring, military hiring firm that was talking about, and that was the number one thing they talked about is one of our disclaimers is everybody thinks that our PTSD or PTS, they didn't say the D in it, was what was our, a lot of people are worried about it. I'm just like, holy cow. That's why, so that's one of the things we talk about. So it's definitely people come off active duty. If you own a business and you're listening, if there's an E5, an E4 that is got out of the military, they've done what they're supposed to do, give them a chance. They may not know what your business is, but they can learn it pretty quick. They're pretty adaptable. And that's
the intangibles.
It's hard. It's amazing to hear that. That's 2000,
2008.
And now we're talking, 12 years later, it's almost the same.
And the other thing that was that was aggravating was
14.
What's that?
14. I do my math there. Like, sorry, they count in the back. It was like 14 years. Sorry. 12, 14. It's all the same, right?
You were active duty, right?
Cool. I was, yes.
Yeah. So when you ETS, they bring in they'll bring in DOD contractors and the CIA, the FBI, and they'll be like, apply and do all this. And so I applied, like FBI, CIA, and I didn't really expect it, but they tried, they almost like tease you with it, like, oh, definitely apply. And I applied for like an internship at the FBI and didn't even get an interview for it. So it's just like, but then you look at, I'm going down that road, but it's just look at what, to your point, you have all these qualified people that were getting out at that time, and none of us could find, like, it was bad. I go to job fairs and I'd see veterans everywhere.
Yeah.
Everywhere.
I don't think I don't know how much it's changed. It still is a thing. I mean, it was funny to me. You know, I work for a pretty big company, and they talked about this, and hiring. You know, diversity is a big thing, and being a veteran is part of that. You know, being diverse. But we actually had a company talk about it, and it was funny to say that, you know, how much we're pigeonholed as being these like structured people who can't learn, and like, you know, and
like only follow orders.
You need to be worried about them because they have PTSD. But so many of these soldiers, and they come out at E4s and E5s, and the amount of responsibility they've had. I still, as a company commander, I don't think I've been in the military, you know, however many years ago. I've never had that many people that I'm responsible for as I've gotten out.
Yeah,
it's funny, and people talk about having 4 or 5 people, and I'm just like,
yeah,
that's crazy. I mean, 4 or 5 people.
When I first got into the alcohol industry, one of the big reasons I left Beam is my prior company didn't think I had leadership experience.
Right.
But you know, the guy that ran
you're still at Beam though. You said
no, yeah, I'm still at Beam. This is my prior company.
He said he did not leave.
No, I did not.
Keith, he did not leave Beam.
No,
Yeah,
Keith,
he's not telling you he's resigning tonight.
But you know, they didn't think I had leadership experience, but the person who I think ran like a Maggiano's or something, which, not discrediting that, but don't tell me what I did is any different than that. Like leading soldiers overseas and doing what we do, it's just as relevant as, you know, anything in corporate America. Or
no, 100%. The key is, I'd tell anybody that if you're listening and that you were getting out and you're struggling, is the one thing is, you know, I got out in 2005, so I've been now in corporate America for a while, longer than I was in the military. So the key thing is being able to understand how to take what you did in the military and word it to what you're doing in the civilian world. That's hard, and that's hard for a lot of veterans. And I think we all still struggle with that.
I do.
I was in charge.
Me and my boss talk about it all the time.
Yeah, you have to figure out a way to correlate it to you know, to correlate it to the civilian world. You know, the big difference, like nobody wants to say it, is, you know, the number one thing in the military. The number thing once you get out of the military is, you know, business has to be profitable, and you have to. That's one thing, is a lot of things that, you know, every business wants to be profitable. If you're not driving the bottom line, they don't really care a lot of things of what you've done. But if you, not to digress into something and down the weeds, it's crazy. But if you're a veteran, or you know somebody who's, like, the best thing to do is find someone that's been in the industry, shoot them your resume, tell them the job you're looking for, and have them help you to word it to make it actually to translate to what the civilian world is. And I think that's one of the biggest things. You'll have people that'll come out of the military that have done some amazing things, but they don't know how to word it to where it's applicable to the job they're looking for.
Yeah, it took me a while to figure it out. I'm still learning it, even you know, as I apply for jobs internally at Beam, that, you know, open roles that we have now, and trying to convey better to the person interviewing me how that experience is relevant to what we're doing here at, you know, the company today. And it's gotten easier for me to do that, but it took a long time and a lot of failures along the way, because it is hard to convey that. Yeah,
and interviewing is an interesting concept too. So I'm glad this is what I love about these conversations we have with everybody that comes in. Is it's funny is the interviewing is funny. If you're in the military, you'd never probably interviewed for a job. You did a board for, like, promotions, and those promotions are super rigid. Like, those promotion boards, you're supposed to be very matter of fact, like, to the point, like, you know, like, blah blah. There's none of this, like, you know what I mean? It's team, everything. What we've done, like, all this kind of stuff. And that's another thing, is, like, you understand, if you had a veteran that's been in the military for, you know, 10 years or even 20 years, they haven't interviewed for jobs really in the way that we talk about the civilian world of interviewing with jobs. And that's one thing to take, if you're a veteran too, not only the resume, but also to learn these interviewing skills that you have to have. Because if you go into it and approach it like you did it, like a board, or, you know, you're having an opportunity to talk to some, you know, officer about somebody, you're very, like, rigid. That's not that's probably not
off-putting.
It's not
maybe not even because it's just they may think you're nervous or misunderstand, misconstrue it. You know, it's not. You know,
well, it depends on who the hiring person is. Like, so, like, for me, if I see someone, I can, you know, that's why I say, if you're in there and you're looking at most veterans, we can look at a veteran and understand where they're coming from. So if there's a bunch of different people that are interviewing on the board panel, when you're done talking, it's like Bobby was an E6. He's talking about some stuff. This is what he's done. But the key is the veteran, we have to be better at. And I think that's one of the things. It's the same as the VA. Like, when I got out, all the stuff I got to transition out was, like, bullshit. I mean, it was really worthless. It's somebody, like, a resume maker. It's definitely worth it. Like, to find, like I said, find a veteran that's done it, or find somebody that, honestly, that's a good investment to make money in, to invest some money in, to get your resume right. Talk to somebody, a headhunter. I've used a headhunter, military headhunter 3 times since I got out. You know, when I got out initially, and then all 3 times that I've changed jobs, and they're amazing to do that. So it's definitely worth the money to do that.
And another thing too is like, don't blanket your resume. If you're going for a different role, you may have to tweak it so it's specific to that role, and fine tune it a little bit. Sometimes people just blanket the resume for multiple positions where some things may or may not be applicable, and hiring managers will just cast it off to the side because of might not be tweaked for that.
There's a lot of like most stuff now. All these companies have the software that figures out, but like the first thing is really to trick the software, to put the word it the right way. And if you look at some resume, I can look at a resume still today and understand what someone has done in their career. If you told me D6, I can kind of process in my head how many people you've probably been responsible for. But if you've never been in the military, you don't understand that. So that's the one thing that is frustrating, and that's a hard thing to do. Is like I'm critical of the VA system. I'm actually critical of that. When you're getting out, it needs to be better. It needs to be something that sets us up for success, where you're going to get out and you're going to get kicked in the teeth. I
completely agree.
And it sucks. So
don't be set up for failure.
Yeah, which we never, like, when you're in the military, that wasn't an option. Failure wasn't an option. You're always trying to do the best you could. So you bounce around a little bit.
Yep.
One of the interesting things we'll talk about. No, you dabbled in college, but I want to talk about it a little bit later. A little bit of college.
Yeah, just a little bit.
We'll talk about it later.
Yeah, it really wasn't for me.
Okay. Right. We'll get into that more. I want to transition more into. So you decided to enter what everybody thinks is the coolest job that's out there, is the alcohol spirits industry. It's like the coolest job. I used to think like 5 years ago, you guys were like rock stars. It's the best job.
It's not bad. I mean, look, it's an awesome job. It really is. Beam Suntory is a great company. I got my start selling beer, like I was telling you guys before. My favorite brand up in Cleveland, Great Lakes Brewing Company, and then transitioned into wine sales, primarily focusing on the E&J Gallo portfolio, and then kind of outgrew the distributor role. There were some disagreements over growth and expectations there, and the Beam Suntory position came available, and it was a great opportunity. I mean, look at the brands we have: Knob Creek, Basil, Makers, Jim Beam. And
say those again, because that's part of say those again slowly, because that's going to be part of how you win the backpack full of goodies. Okay. Say what are the Beam Suntory brands?
I'll give you the Beam Suntory World Tour in a minute.
Say those brands again, though.
But do you want me to do just those? Knob Creek, Jim Beam, Basil, Hayden, Maker's Mark. Those are like our
just so Booker's in there too. That's all that in, right?
I'll give you the World Tour later if you want. I can take you through all our brands.
But those ones that we just named,
those are the four big houses.
And this name, those four. All you got to post in the comments to win this cool backpack. Look at us go. Look at me selling out the Maker's Mark. It's so fun. Look at this. Opportunity is to win this backpack. There's a picture. There's tons of good shit in here. You got to name those 4 brands that Bobby just told you. You got to post the comment in this comment thread to win a chance to get in the randomizer to win this. You definitely want. It's heavy as hell. There's not so much stuff in there. There's a lot more to give away, but.
So the Beam Suntory position came available as on-premise portfolio manager covering the Cleveland market. So it was a great opportunity, home market, great brands. So I applied, and some like 18 candidates, like 9 or 7 interviews later, got the job, and it was like, yes, like awesome. So I've been there 4 years. Just took over the territory manager position in
I'm not
May
laughing.
2020. You laughing at me?
I'm not laughing at you. Sorry, but Jason, actually, he's not here tonight. He hardly misses it. He's camping with his 3 dogs in Kentucky. He just hits me up and says, "I need a Maker's ugly sweater," is what he just said. So,
you're not present.
Dude, you don't get one, man. You didn't cook for us? No fucking ugly sweater.
I come down after months of scheduling conflicts, and you can't. No, I'm just kidding. No, we'll get you squared away. But yeah, I took that role and then took over the territory manager role, which I hold now, which I love, working with the team here in Ohio, and just looking at different opportunities at Beam, and that's kind of within the company with different roles, and maybe going to a specific brand house, or we'll see.
So educate me. So most people, correct me if I'm wrong, though, I guess, is everybody doesn't understand there's a tier system in all the states, no matter what. So you have the place that makes the whiskey, right? So you have, Beam,
the distillery,
Jim Beam, each state they have a supplier that brings it in, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you work for the supplier,
correct?
Which is actually you work for Beam. So there's other places that have other states, other brands have people that work for them. They have multiple brands. So you just stick with all Beam products, correct?
Correct. So you're probably talking like our broker reps.
Right.
Yeah. So our broker reps or distributor reps,
Right.
they'll handle multiple books. Like my sales team at Southern covers the two big ones are Campari and Beam Suntory. And then they have a bunch of different ones, but yeah, they cover multiple different brands.
So it's interesting. So you start off in beer, right?
Yep.
And this is what's funny. Like I break the joke, right? Because there's a couple of I actually have been guilty of it. A few years ago, I remember talking to a friend of mine or texting a friend of mine, Ann. So a lot of people know who Ann is, and say, how do I get into the alcohol industry? And I mean, I want to just change it up.
Yeah.
And she sent me one of the most disheartening, like, I'm going to break your everything you think about it. You don't start at the top. Like she's like, I started, pouring wine and liquor into plastic cups at some place. You don't just get the cool job. Everyone thinks that you're like up there. You have a cool job. There's reps. If you walk into liquor stores in any state, you walk in there and they're trying to get you to try Bacardi 101 and they have a plastic cup, but that's where it starts. And she totally broke my spirits. Is like, you definitely got to start from the ground up and work your way up.
I think that's the best. You really get the best perspective. I started building those big summer shandy displays at Giant Eagle, like 150 case displays. That's what I started as a merchandiser. Then I was an inner city rep selling Four Loko with my ride was with Joe Rosman, who may be watching tonight. And then, I moved into on-premise sales, which is where, again, bars, restaurants, all that stuff, and started selling wine. And so, yeah, you learning all those different areas of the business. It kind of it gives you a better skill set, in my opinion.
Yeah, because everybody thinks like you get to go to like, private barrel picks. You just sent a picture yesterday. You actually set up a display at the Brown Stadium for tomorrow, right?
Yeah, we're doing Thursday Night Football at the KeyBank Lounge with Maker's Mark. Something with the Browns. They want to do something unique at that lounge there, so we popped up a Maker's Bar there for tomorrow.
That's why we're doing it on Wednesday, Jason. I mean, the Browns are more important than you, Jason. Sorry. But no, but that's interesting. So when you that's funny because the alcohol industry is funny. So you have what's your least favorite thing about being in the alcohol beer industry? Like, we'll say alcohol industry. Like, what's the worst thing about being in that role?
You want my real answer?
Yeah.
Everybody wants something.
Yeah. No, that's the whole point of it. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, and look, that's the job. Like you're there to partner with your customers and stuff, and and take care of them and grow the brands and stuff. But it's just sometimes can get endless where you're just getting hammered all the time with requests for stuff. And it's the job. I get it. And it's not, but if I had to pick something, I don't hate that. It's just if you had to pick something, because I really do love my job. It's great. But the constant
can I confess something to you?
Yeah, go for it.
I just wanted an ugly sweater. That's what
I know. That's
I'm joking. I definitely. No, but I did it. That's a great. To be honest with you, that is true, because it's I people that know me, I'm in the bourbon world, I guess. I mean, everybody's always wanting something that is interesting. Because it is interesting if somebody calls you on a 9 o'clock in the morning. Are they really calling to say hi to Bobby, or do we want something, right? Or
you randomly get a message from somebody from like you haven't talked to in 3 years and asking for a hookup on a job, and I'm like, what?
Yeah.
What? Like,
I feel guilty. I do this sometimes. Like Nick, one of your counterparts, right?
Oh yeah, Nick.
So,
hi Nick.
I called him super late last night. I was like,
were you
Nick,
busting his balls about that?
No, he said he was going to call me back an hour, and he actually did. It was actually longer than that. And I was like, that's a long ass hour. And it was like 2 days later. And he's like, I called you back. And I'm like, I know, but honestly, Nick, I don't just call you when I need stuff. It is, but that is interesting, because they think you do have all these great hookups, so you can do all these things, but that's not necessarily the case. So
look, we're happy to do it when we're partners with our customers and stuff like that. That's part of the job. So it's just it expands out into the personal life more. That's more what it is, and it's but it's not any close family and friends. That's different.
Did the family and friends ask you for stuff?
No, they respect it, and it's like I said, it's just like random people sometimes that think that you're there to hook them up with something. And it's like you always want to help people out, especially when charities are involved. I love doing stuff for charities, but it's just a random can you give me something for my son's baseball team? Like, when was the last time we spoke? Oh, we haven't had a text message exchange since 2014. No, I'm good on that. That's
great. And what's funny is we had Bobby already gave me a bunch of stuff that I have not been the best at getting out. I'm still trying to figure it out. And now he brought tons of more shit. So we were definitely, by the end of the night, going to get rid of all the shit he brought. It's unbelievable. So I do appreciate that, and I that's one of the funny things that is hard to communicate. I think that's hard in business because I am involved in that business now. It's kind of weird when you talk to people. It is always like you do want something, but it's always you want to have a personal connection. I feel, and that's what I think of the things that struggle with bourbon for me in the world is like, if you went back to 5 years ago, it would be really hard to sell a private barrel to somebody on on-premise counter.
When I first started, it was very challenging.
Yeah, and then now everybody wants it. So what's challenging sometimes with people in your role and other people, and I know Beam doesn't want us to get too deep and down the rabbit hole, but the funny things I would say is like 5 years ago there were people that were being super loyal to the brand and to your the brands that you're selling. You should probably stay loyal to them now that everyone. Yeah, and it's important. Yeah,
and that's how you have to operate.
Yeah.
I mean, and I treat every customer the same, whether you sell 15 cases a year, or 150 cases a year, or 1,500 cases a year. We want to partner with everybody, and if you take that approach, you're going to get much better reception because people talk in the industry. And if you start treating this customer different than this customer,
but some customers should be treated differently. Though,
but see, I
mean, I think
there are the outliers that are challenging. I'll use that word. And are very demanding. And those are the ones that can be challenging to deal with. And it's more the old school mentality, like coming up in that 90s, like bar owners where it was like shot girls in the bars and like going out and just spending ridiculous amounts of money for no reason at all. Like that's not how it goes. And it's about a partnership. So if these people aren't interested in partnerships, then yes, it can be incredibly challenging if it's a one-way street.
I think what I mean by treating customers different is like, I just look at, especially I'm talking more of,
I know what you mean, like the ones that supported it from day one.
5 years ago when you couldn't sell a barrel.
Yeah, like for instance, we have a guy in Canton, 35 bricks. He's on his 6th MMPS barrel, one location in like 3 years. Guy, he's figured it out. He does a great job with it. Like if you're in Canton area, go check it out. He does awesome. His name's Kerry. But he's been with us from the beginning. Right. So like when we were down there and he was like, "Can I get 3 barrels?" And I was like, shit, I don't know. Like I got to check our allocation. And we had the barrels, but he was like, "Well, I don't want to take 3." I'm like, "Look, man, you've been with us from the beginning. I'm not going to say no to 3 barrels for you. You got it. Like it's yours." Like, and that's taking care of him because he's taking care of us. He was one of the ones that helped get it off the ground in the local market. Yeah.
And I think that's interesting about that business is it's just now it's become super popular. I love how popular whiskey is now. And I hate it's a true love hate how popular it is now because it's crazy how
Tequila
many
is
like every place wants a private barrel pick and then you ask them like 2 or 3 questions about whiskey, they have no idea what it is, but they just want one to
it's unique. It sets them apart from everybody else. If you can go into like a Red Steakhouse and they have the Red Steakhouse Private Select, you can't get that anywhere else, so you're inclined to purchase it, especially if you're a fan of the brand and you're like, "Oh, I had the Rosewood Grill Private Select too. I know that one's good. Let's see what this Stave combination is." And that's what we're trying to do with the OHLQ stuff more, is get it in the on-premise so we can showcase to the on-premise, like, "Hey, this is what we can do with it." And
the OHLQ they're killing it with the naming of the Maker's Mark Private.
Oh, the
names are unbelievable.
I can't take credit for that, so that's actually falls under Nick's kind of guidance here in the state. But yeah, the names are cool, and we have some new ones coming in November, which we referenced earlier, and some innovation coming down the pipeline to kind of explain that, which will be kind of cool. So that November launch, we'll have some new stuff coming down the pipeline for that, so that'd be cool.
Which is awesome. So now we're going to talk. I think now we'll get back to Makers, but now we have to talk about one of our listeners actually sent us a very generous allotment of bottles for us to feature. He's I'm not going to say his name, but he's sent us a lot of bottles. So we're going to talk about one of the featured brands that he said, you can go ahead and open it up. Are you ready for some more? Totally something I've never had, which is great. It's I'm excited to see the cork because it's supposed to be the best, but it's actually Frank August Small Batch Kentucky Straight Bourbon, which is actually bottled in Bardstown, Kentucky. It's distilled by an unknown.
Said you want to see the cork?
It's like supposed to be sick.
Yeah, it's very heavy, which is cool.
Nice. It's a pretty good cork. Holy cow, that's like seriously. But it's actually it's sourced from an unnamed Kentucky distiller. It's actually a small batch blend, the one we have right now. It's blended right now. They're talking about right now. There's not a lot about this. I tried to research a lot.
Where's it from?
It's actually it's bottled in Bardstown.
Okay.
But
are they sourcing?
they're sourcing
Okay.
from a Kentucky distiller. They're not talking about it yet.
That's fine. I was just curious.
And what's interesting about the small batch numbers is that this small batch we're having is only 10 to 15 barrels, which is a pretty small, number of small batch. And it's actually
What's the 100 proof?
100 proof. Yeah.
Doesn't
look at you. Did you look at that?
What's that?
Did you see that? He just picked that out. I think he looked at the label.
Oh, I saw it on the screen.
Oh,
Up
look
there.
at that.
Unless I was
like, wow, he just sipped that. I'm
no,
like, that's pretty good.
My palate is not.
He's like
good.
a pro over here.
know.
Look at this, but it's actually pretty cool. It's 100 proof. There's no information on the mash bill. The only thing that the guys want to try it behind the scenes, pass around. It's actually non-age stated. It's said to be about 4+ years. 100 proof, like Bobby had said. It's an undisclosed mash bill, but it is a high rye mash bill, and it's non-chill filtered, which is, in the bourbon world is kind of sought after. What's interesting about them is they're new on the market. Not a lot about it, but one of the cool things I did read about it, they have a couple of different expressions that are coming out here in the next couple months. They're going to go to the single barrel program, which is what everybody wants to do.
This is a buddy of yours?
What's that?
Buddy of yours? This is a buddy of yours?
No.
Oh, gotcha.
Sent it. I don't know who. He sent this to me, like the bottle, but they're actually going to come out with the single barrel program in October. And then what they're going to do is they're calling it the case study program, where they're going to experiment with finishing techniques. And one of their first one that they've already announced is that they're actually going to release it with the Mazurna Japanese oak.
Oh yeah, we just did that with our Cavassier brand,
right? Which is super rare.
Yes,
it's
very expensive.
Yeah, so like this is not. I'm kind of excited about that because if you're not into it, there's not many people that are getting those. I think that I don't know if that's right. Genty's gonna get mad at me, a friend of mine that owns the bar, but I think the Mazurna trees you can't cut them.
Mizunora.
You can't cut them down. You can't cut them unless they're like 100 years old. It's some ridiculous amount.
It's 100. I'm pulling this from a dinner I did. I want to say 150.
Right,
but that could be wrong.
Right. So
it could be very wrong. That number is ringing a bell for some reason.
So these barrels that they use to do it, they're pretty sought after. So it's kind of interesting that a new brand, they're able to get those right off the bat.
That is impressive, actually.
So it's pretty exciting. They're coming out. What'd you think of it?
I thought it was good. That's why I asked. That's why I said it was only 100 proof. It didn't drink like 100 proof. It seemed lighter to me. I like rye, so yeah, it was good.
I do get the rye. I love high rye. Yeah, it is pretty.
It's not bad. Smooth.
Easy.
Especially, I'd be interested to try the one with the Mizunora, and because I have the Cavassier. We had the Cavassier Mizunora, which was real. I mean, it was one of the most interesting spirits. I'm not a big cognac drinker. I enjoy it, but that was one of the most interesting spirits I'd ever drank in my life. So I'd be interested to see how the Mizunora would take to the American whiskey.
It's super smooth though.
It is.
Not a strong finish, but it's a nice sipper.
Yeah. Not bad. And it's Mizunora. It took me like 6 months. Yeah, Mizunora took me like 6 months.
I'm more fascinated by the cork. Where's the?
They took it. They were checking it. Oh, it's on the bottle.
It is like serious. I think it's like no joke, huh?
Mm-hmm. It's heavy. They put some weight on it.
Nice.
Mm-hmm.
It's like a deadly weapon over there.
But, oh shit!
And it's totally minimalistic. The whole branding, you can't even see.
I like
the
about Frank August. It's just like simple.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. I mean, around the neck is where you can pretty much see anything about it, but it just got one.
I want to change the color scheme. It kind of doesn't pop on the bottle, though. You can't really see.
Yeah, that's 2022. That's very minimalistic.
Minimalistic.
That's the word we're using. So. But that's the second featured whiskey, and thank you for donating that. So we're going to be featuring some of the bottles that he sent us. If you want me to say who you are, just let me know, and I will, but we're kind of keep it quiet. He's from Alabama. Good guy. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. So now we're talking about, so back now we're going to, we've already went through your whole life. Like, figured it out, right?
Yeah, for the most part.
Through much. So one of the things that we're going to go back to, so military-wise, biggest lesson you learned from the military? Good or bad? Oh, man.
Oh, yeah, I'm trying to pick between two. I think you need to adapt. And that's what kind of leads me to like that quote, to be successful is to change, to be perfect is to change often. And I think change is inevitable in any industry you're in. And I think adaptability, like that mission, that CRAM mission we were on, nothing went right for a long time. We were constantly having to adapt and change our approach, try new things. It was frustrating. It was challenging, but that taught a big lesson for, I think, everybody on that mission, like just keep trying and adapt and overcome type situation. And I think that plays very well into what I do now, because the spirits industry is the same way. You look at how much it's evolved. Like COVID shut down, on-premise was dead. We had to figure out ways to still engage with them. So adaptability and adapting over. So I think that was the biggest lesson the other one I was trying to think is perspective. So,
but all the failure you had up until that point, when that first time that Felix fired that shot down the mortar, what everybody must have been ecstatic.
Oh, they were going nuts on the radio. Nuts on the radio. Like, did we hit that? Holy shit. Like, yeah, we got to confirm. Like, it was nuts.
I can't believe this worked.
Yeah. And what was funny, too, is like 82nd came in. And I'll dog you for a second. 82nd came in. They replaced us, and they shot one down like 3 days into it. And we were still in the transition barracks.
How long did it take you?
It took us like 10 months, 11 months.
It took us 3 days. That's what I'm talking about.
Well,
You just helped. You didn't.
Yeah. No, hold on. Stand by. So then we get to Kuwait, and the weapon system malfunctioning, radars are down, everything. So they're like, we're in Kuwait, and the commander's like, yeah, we might need some guys to go back up north to help these guys figure this out. And then the general was like, nope, go, you're out. Like, it's their problem. But they had all sorts of issues, and that was another reason we got redeployed so fast. Not to dog them or anything, because we had the same issues. You got to learn that stuff. It's like I said, it's never been done before. But it was just interesting. Like, that's how challenging that mission was. Not to say take away from anybody else's, but it was just something that we hadn't done before, and trying to integrate all those different Marine radar systems with Army. Like, we don't work together in that capacity all the time. So, but it was a good perspective and on just how to work with other people and from different walks of life and different branches. So, perspective too.
Yeah, I think it's funny that you talk. It ties into the whole theme is the whole fun thing about like the adaptability and change. And I feel like a lot of the times everything we did in the military was sometimes like destined for failure. You know what I mean?
How many times did we do something like the next
and then
day?
when it happens,
hey, remember what happened yesterday? Forget it. We're changing.
Like, tomorrow's gonna be better. And you're like,
we spent 30 days in Yuma training before we deployed. We were in the desert in tents. It was awful. And then when we got to Kuwait, they're like, all those IED tactics and protocols you learned. Yeah, they're changed. Tactics changed because of the enemy adapted, so we had to adapt to them. So then you're learning all new tactics like in Kuwait on the fly. So to your point, you're like set up to failure all the time. But
I still think that's crazy that you guys adapted. I had no idea until you talked about that they adapted that system to work.
Yeah. So we were integrating. It was like
So is it normally? It's got to be dialed in now. Where
I would imagine so. I haven't really kept tabs on it to be honest, but I know like
if we have an ADA people, we need to know is this thing like dialed in, and it's got to be blowing everything out of the sky.
I would think right? They were even
probably
testing,
not. It's a military.
Should we go? They were testing lasers back then. In 2005 when we were there. So they were testing the phalanx, and they were testing a laser too. But the problem was the laser had to hit the same point of the target for like 2 to 3 seconds to fracture it or whatever. Right. So imagine a laser trying to hit a spinning target flop. So it wasn't there yet, but I know they were working on it. So like that was what the phalanx was trying to supplement at the time. And that thing was.
I feel like it's got to be a better system when they used to teach us about. What do you call it? The poo.
The point of origin.
Stuff like where the mortar, figuring out from where the mortar landed to figure out where they launched from. I'm like, Jesus Christ! If we figure that out, they're long gone.
Well,
no, I mean, but there's got to be. We got to digitize this.
Well, that's where when from the moment it launches, we can.
Right.
If it hits within our coverage area of the radars, we can correlate it within a second,
right,
and know like, hey, this is a confirmed launch point. And then the QRF, depending on who's in command, can go.
Yeah, but it used to be like you go down there, you do crater analysis, you try to figure out and then the other thing too is like, what are the? I don't know what the name was, but there's like the things that were on the vehicles where it could tell where the rounds were coming from. It's like it changed. The technology changed so much from.
Well, then the Warlock, they had the Warlock system.
That's before my days. Yeah. So it's crazy. Like before, it's like to be able to have something that tells you like. Where the incoming rounds are coming from. That is nuts. So
they were testing the J-Lens camera too. Remember, it was like a tower, and the camera could see from like 2 kilometers, like zoom in, and you'd see some funny stuff from the locals.
So for your job, did you have to have a security clearance?
Yes.
Yeah, that's one of the things I looked at. It was interesting. I when I was researching, you had to get a secret clearance before you could go there, which is kind of unusual for most most MOSs, you don't have to have a secret clearance when you initially come in. Intel, some of this stuff. So
I had to have a secret clearance, not a top secret SCI. Right. But had I gone warrant, I would have had to, which I almost did. and started filling out the paperwork. But yeah, just a secret clearance, which because we were handling all that information at the time was secret. They didn't want getting out. So it was they didn't even announce like our deployment until like 8 months into it out of Fort Lewis, like because it was so not top secret, not any like Manhattan project.
So, but I think that was one of the, which is a great story. Bobby's trying to tie it into the Manhattan project.
No, it's not anything like that, but it was just like one of those things where we weren't allowed to told not to talk
taking
about
taking the nuclear parts for D-Day.
Fissile materials
The nuclear missiles in World War II. Chill out over there. You already made the ADA look pretty good when talking about like we shot a mortar out for the first time. I think that's so because I never knew that. That was one of the shocking things to me.
Yeah, it was.
Now I'm gonna find tonight before I get to bed. I'm gonna watch more of those.
It was like April.
Those videos. That's nuts.
April of 2006. Because I remember it was right before we rotated.
Because those systems have been on Navy, like our Navy. They've been on Navy ships for a long time. Right? What did the Navy guys think you were crazy, or what were they?
The Navy guys were everybody thought it was crazy. Honestly, everybody's like, we're gonna take a Navy system that was on ships, put it on a trailer, roll it out to the desert, integrate it with an experimental mortar radar system, or LCMR is what it's called, lightweight counter mortar radar, Marine field artillery, Army field artillery, the CWIS radar, which is a Navy radar. So now you're taking pretty much all the branches. And then they were trying to tie in even to the Air Force ones at the airstrips. So you're doing things that have never been done before. Right. And we had a lot of defense contractor support, Northrop Grumman and Raytheon, of course. But it was really cool to kind of work on that because everything every day was new. You were coming up with a new problem.
Right. Yeah.
Switches were broken. Why is this system not talking to this system? Like
the first question I had was like, why are there 900 different systems? That's the
military for you.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, you're like this radar, that radar. I'm like maybe we should have one fucking radar.
We had two for us. It was the Forward Area Air Defense, which was like on our radar panel, and then in the top we had the Air Missile Weapons Defense System. So it was
that's the military though.
You had two separate operating systems too. So
if you would have had one radar system, it would have worked and probably.
Well, the problem is they're pinging the targets different.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you really just need one to clear the airspace, track, and then two to correlate. Because if you only have one, then you don't know if it's a false launch or not. Which we had a lot of those.
Over here. Yeah, he's getting deep over here. It's all those years in that Nomex flight retardant thing. We got sitting there like.
Was that what I was doing?
I can't. I honestly, I had no idea because when you said that to me, I'm like looking. I was like, you talk about the Navy people. I'm like, what? How the fuck is this making sense? But that now it totally 100%.
Yeah. And then, in Fallujah too, that was just straight up warning system. We were there with no weapon system. We just popped up some radars, and because they were just getting hammered there. So that was.
But the early warning, that's crazy. I just look at some of the technology things that have come out.
Well, it was great. I mean, you're giving soldiers 5 to 10, even hopefully more time for cover, and that other than just walking through. That was the thing that they were telling us. Like these soldiers are just walking to like chow halls and mortars dry, and that's what we were over there to hopefully prevent.
Well, everything technology, the radar stuff like that. I still look at. I think when I went to Afghanistan, we had one up armored Humvee in the whole.
What?
Battalion, yeah. It was we had soft skin.
Was that pre-Rumsfeld, the pre-Rumsfeld question?
It was just crazy. And then they had this one Humvee that was up armored, and you're like, do I want to ride in that? Yes. Do I want to ride in that? No, so because obviously someone thinks you're important if you're in that, but it's it's got all these antennas on it. But it was crazy. Like we're riding around in like soft shelled. I see all these I see military vehicles now. I was like, what, we want to take the remember the flimsy Humvee doors? That wasn't stopping anything. It's awful.
No, we just took them off.
It's crazy to watch the technology. That's really cool. I never knew that. That was pretty cool to
it was cool. That's why I said originally doing air defense. You're like, what the hell am I doing? But then it worked out, and it was a cool mission and something like you said. Make air defense sound cool.
I was challenging you to that you could make air defense sound cool, but you actually did. For real, that's pretty cool. That's pretty neat. If you haven't seen those things fire, you definitely need to watch some videos. So now we'll talk about. We're going to transition more now to you talked about your least favorite thing about being in the liquor industry. What's your favorite thing about being in your current role, being in the alcohol liquor business?
It's different things every day. That's why I like the alcohol industry. Like in my current role, I manage help manage the distributor, Southern Glazers. I work on some stuff on the marketing side, sales side, sell the private select barrels. Like every day is different. Tomorrow we're doing Thursday night football with the Browns and Maker's Mark. Monday I had a International Women's Day dinner with a bunch of female bartenders, owners downtown in the trade with Maker's Mark to honor Margie Samuels. And last Saturday I had a volleyball tournament with Twisted Tea Whiskey at Razzles in North Olmsted. So it's like everything's just different. It's a fun job. There is times where the travel and nights and stuff can get challenging, but it's a great job. You can't really complain.
What's the wife think about?
She's the best. I mean, honestly, my wife when I took the job at Superior, and it was like, you got to build your career. You got to go out and do these things. Well, we had our daughter. So she sacrificed, doing that stuff so I could go out and make it and get to, the point. Adriana. Yes.
That's an interesting spelling. Yeah. I have a weird name. Adriana. What's the?
My wife and I just really liked it. Yeah, I don't know what it was. We just really liked it. And then my son Owen, he's 5. But yeah, my wife, she gets it and she's great. She runs a law firm and they are very cool about the flexibility, especially when I'm traveling. So she gets it.
Is she always asking for the ugliest sweatshirts?
She wants crew necks and t-shirts. Crew necks and t-shirts.
That's what it is. Yeah, because it has to be like so you've been what's great, I think when I hear that is it's like that difference. Every day is different and different people. So your industry, most famous person you've ever met?
Machine Gun Kelly, I guess, maybe. I met LeBron once. Maverick Carter. Bunch of like former Indians players, Browns players. I mean,
no, it's
like local celebrities
Bobby,
in that sense. Like that's
Guardians.
Sorry, my bad.
It's 2022. They're the Guardians.
Hopefully they're not watching.
Former Guardians.
Patrick,
players.
I will put $5 in the jar. Sorry, we have a running joke because I keep saying
the former the Guardians players.
Yeah, I mean, that's
LeBron. How'd you meet LeBron? We got to talk about LeBron. Was it like, hey, high five LeBron? Like,
no, I was literally at where was it? It was at a Cavs game. I was still at the distributor. Coors Light, we were in the Coors Light Club, and he was walking by and he was signing some autographs, and he just kind of like, what's up type thing. Like, not, I shouldn't say like met him. Richard Jefferson actually did our pregnancy announcement for my son.
So LeBron is not going to remember you though.
No, not a chance. Not that I care, but that was actually kind of cool. I did meet Richard Jefferson, and my wife was like, "We're having a baby. We haven't announced it yet. Would you like do a
Richard
Snapchat?"
Jefferson? I don't know who that is.
Richard Jefferson. He was on the Cavs 2016 Finals team. Bald head. What's that? RJ,
oh
yeah.
Come on. That's the first time Levy has ever understood.
Yeah, that was pretty cool. But yeah,
he didn't know who LeBron was. But he knew
that stuff. I don't care too much about that stuff, to be honest.
No, but it's cool when you get to meet people in different. Yeah. I think that it was fun to watch. Is how excited you were about the difference in like tomorrow. You're going to be. How many people do you think will come through?
So Brown said there's 300 people for that Key Bank Lounge. So we'll have 300 people or so rolling through there. We're going to do a private select tasting with the MMPS OHLQ variants that were released, the summer ones, because we wanted to hold off until the Thursday night game to do it. And
so up there would be the summer release or the new one?
The summer release, the one that we were talking about.
Okay.
The other variants, the summer sweet tea, the smoked maple glaze, the marshmallow crispy treat, and oh God, I can't remember.
So is it too late if you're up there tomorrow to come and see you? Or is it already sold out?
Are you coming up?
I'm not.
You're not?
I'm not going to Browns game.
No, if you're
Thursday night, never. No.
Yeah, the Browns are just looking to do some cool stuff. So we're like, hey, we have this Maker's Bar. We'll do a cool private select tasting, push out the OHLQ stuff and showcase the brand. So it'll be pretty cool. So if you're down there and you can get to the Key Bank Lounge, we'll come over and say hi.
And you'll be his new friend because everybody in the liquor.
Well, if they lose tomorrow, I have a feeling it'll be everybody's best friend.
So we were talking about that, the sports wise is. God, I respect Browns fans being not as loyal. I don't respect. I should say that. I'm not gonna say.
Are you?
The Browns fans? I'm not. I'm a Giants fan.
You're a Giants
fan. 2-0.
That's fine.
First time in like 6 years that we've been 2-0. I mean, yeah, we suck, but we're 2-0.
That's all right.
No, but I mean, the thing I love about Cleveland fans is every game, every year. You think you're going to win. It's almost like
do other fans not think they're going to win?
No, I don't think they do. I think some fans are like for many like
I'm not saying
the Giants suck.
He thinks Jacoby Brissett's going 8-2. I mean,
right.
Until when he said that, I looked at you like
I don't think that Cleveland fans think the same way. No, that if you're a
We're
Giants fan,
passionate.
if you're a Giants fan for the past 6 years, like our team fucking sucks. Like
Because you
can't
New
even-
Yorkers you hate your teams.
we love our teams, but we're realistic. Like we're not going to try to pretend like we're going to do something we're not. Like honestly, I love that Browns fans are my favorite fans. I've seen I've lived in a lot of places. Browns fans are the most optimistic people. I actually went.
Man.
I think I went to opening day. 2020 maybe. No, 20. I can't.
I say 2020. It wasn't
2020. Opening day 2019, I think. And I swear to God, I felt like we were going to win the Super Bowl. I'm wearing a Browns. Like you got to fit in. I was wearing a Browns. I think it was Richardson, who's running back that I got at some store for $4.99.
Yeah, you probably bought a TJ Maxx.
Yeah, exactly. What's TJ Maxx or what's the other one? And I'm like everyone, but everyone they felt like they're going to win the Super Bowl. It was like a Super Bowl thing. And they lost the game. By the end of it, everybody wants to kill everybody on the field. Yeah. They want to kill their own fans. But then the next day, they're like, this Sunday is going to be different. It's not going to be different.
All we got to do is go 2-2, and then we're back. And it's always
but I respect that.
That's
the Browns
fans
are
though.
The same thing. Like, but the Cleveland fans in general, if you talk, like, I'm not a big basketball fan, but if you look at now the Guardians, which I'm not going to say the Guardians anymore, the Indians. Like, let's be realistic. The Cleveland Indians, a great fan base. It's like it's unbelievable how.
Well, they're doing
Browns,
well. They're going to be, and I don't know if a lot of people know, we are the official bourbon of the Cleveland Indians with Jim Beam.
Ooh,
so
Jim Beam, look at that plug. Jim Beam, the
Beam.
official of the Guardians.
Yes. So
were you the official liquor for the Indians?
Yes. Yeah, we were. This is the first year of the partnership was 2020. And they changed I still have some Jim Beam Indian stuff, which
I hate that. It's that political. We're not going to talk the whole Guardians.
I'm going to remove myself from that one because
we're not going to talk about that. I was recently at a Yankees Guardians game, and I was surprised how much Indians stuff we still saw out there.
And look, hey, let's be honest, winning cures all.
Yeah,
they win a World Series again. I mean, people, the diehards, I get it,
and by far best baseball movie.
Which one?
Besides Bull Durham is Major League.
Oh, 100%.
Major League is I mean, Bull Durham is just a different, but Major League, best baseball 100%. Movie. Cleveland, they made the but that Charlie was back Sheen, then, like Charlie Sheen. Oh, there's so many
Wild Thing. Oh yeah,
Roger Dorn. Wild Thing. No, that's such a great movie. I still remember that. I was in high school when that came out and watching it and be like, I wish we could get.
I still watch it,
dude. It's such a great. Yeah. Should we talk about Charlie Sheen because that's political? No,
we actually went and saw remember his stand up that he did. Remember he was doing those stand-up tours when he was like melting down all over the country, and he was going around doing tours. Me and my wife went, and it was him just like standing there, just like telling wild, crazy stories about his wife. It was like watching a house burn down, but you just couldn't walk. Like it was wild, and it wasn't even like funny. I mean, some stuff was funny, but it was like it was something else. I'll tell you.
Like it wasn't even funny. It was just
wild. Like that's what it was. It was interesting, but yeah.
Was that when he was talking about? What was it like the Cougar
Tiger Blood?
Tiger Blood, yeah, that was during that whole time. When he was doing the whole like winning.
But dude, he was. I mean, to be honest though, I mean, think about the things that he's done. Like Major League. I think it was in the first two. Great flicks, right?
Well, yeah. Back to the Minors.
But then you have also like Platoon. He was unbelievable in Platoon. Two and a half men was unbelievable before. I mean, Ashton Kutcher came on and fucked that all up. But yeah, I think that'd be great to watch somebody just.
Dude, it was great. It was great. Then some like woman got up and took her shirt off and spinning it around and threw it up on. I was just like, what is happening here?
It's almost like the place is burning down. Like, should someone put out the fire? No, we just need to keep.
And we're just sitting there. Just,
I don't remember this. This is.
This had to be. It was whenever he was doing that whole like winning, and it was when the 2.5 men thing happened.
Yeah, the winning.
Yeah, it was like whatever that was, but that had to be like 2016, 15, something like that. Probably 15, give or take. But
that's crazy. That's crazy. But so you've been married now for how'd you meet your wife?
So we met
Haley. He didn't say Haley's been married to Haley now for 13 years.
She's going to type in there that you messed her name up.
What is it?
It's Hallie.
Hallie. You got to get the normal
Hallie. So yeah, we've been
Adriana. Is that better? Like
Owen.
Holy cow! I have a bad Don't do this yourself anymore. I have an awful first name, Che. That's why you name all your kids Ben, Nate, Gabe. Easy names. Grandkid, just bang it out. Someone's not reading it and trying to be like, Holy Christ! Let me go to Google. How do I pronounce? Owen.
Owen's easy. Come on. No, we met in.
I don't know now. After that, I feel like I could look at Owen and be like, "Oh,
it's good.
Owen,
Owen?
Owen, you're doing great, Owen."
He's probably watching. Like, it's Owen. No, we met in between my first and second tour at a wedding. Actually, it was her and her sister were friends with the bride. I was good friends with the groom. Groom's younger brother, actually Marine. We were in Fallujah. We grew up like 6 houses. One time we were strong, so like 6 houses away from each other. We were in Fallujah together. 07, just never were able to connect. But met her at a wedding, and it was
at Lewis or back here.
Here.
Okay,
back here.
Cool.
Yeah, I came home on block leave after the deployment. Met her. I was home for 30 days. Hung out the whole time, and we wanted to see what would happen. And she came out to visit me in Washington like a month and a half later, give or take. And that's from there we stayed together through my second deployment, and I proposed when I was home on mid-tour leave in 08, and married in 09.
And then you just thought about a couple names you could name your kids to throw people off.
Yeah, you want to know what her middle name is? Cheyenne.
Cheyenne. That's a great.
It is a great name, but it's just
Garth Brooks. That goes back to Garth Brooks. Cheyenne.
Yeah, just off it's unorthodox name.
I hope she spells it correctly.
She does.
I'm kidding. No, it's a joke. So you talked about. So you talked about. You and I talked before, off camera, and we've known each other for a few months here, which is fun. So high school, playing sports in high school.
Played football through sophomore year. I was like 5'5" in high school, like 130 pounds. Not that I'm much bigger.
He's not much bigger than that. Everybody you're looking at him like.
But it was just after multiple. I just
Right.
height wise just didn't work out. So just junior senior year didn't do anything, and joined the military after that.
But you were big into flag football and volleyball, right?
Yeah, I played volleyball pretty competitively, and I made competitively in the local circuit. Some tournaments and stuff here in Ohio up until I had my daughter, and it was just too hard to do it. And then played flag football, still do travel around, been to Orlando, North Carolina, Virginia, won a national championship down in Florida with one of our teams down there. So had that's a good time. And it's actually playing against like former NFL players and college players. That's a big thing in flag football now. So that's been fun, but pushing 40, it's kind of hard to hang with 25 and 26-year-olds.
I don't know what you feel like. I'm still 35, solid 35.
Perfect. Yeah, I'm 37.
He's like pushing 40. Look at me.
But it's fun.
Pushing
it's
40.
Come on. Yeah. Well, honestly, the reason that, I like doing that is it's team. It's like working as a team, that type of stuff. So
the sports thing, it's always fun. There's when I went down to Fort Hood, I got big into softball. I played baseball, and then you get into softball, and then you're just like, it's always fun to play sports. And then
awful at softball.
What?
I'm awful at softball. I cannot swing a bat for shit. I can field and throw. I was a pitcher growing up, but batting is God, terrible.
It's always fun. Like my oldest son, he played college baseball, and he's talking about now like joining. I was like, "Are you gonna play like men's league around here? Because that's a good men's league." He's like, "I think we're gonna play softball." I'm like, "Play men's league baseball. It's so much cooler." But yeah,
some of those softball leagues though get competitive.
Yeah, but it's crazy. Like I did that for like years ago, and it's nuts. I mean, these guys are like
softball guy.
Yeah, the softball guy would just goes out. I would go to tournaments where they were like, you after 2 home runs, it was an out. Like these crazy rules because all guys could do
because everybody could just hit
fucking
bombs.
Bang out home runs. Like I think more the thing I'm more interested in now is when I'm not looking at the missile system warning system that you told me about. I'm looking at wiffle ball. There's like these wiffle
crazy
wiffle ball leagues. Yeah. It is sick. These guys are like.
We played it.
Have you guys seen this?
We go on a golfing trip every year.
Check it out. Yeah,
we added wiffle ball as one of the events, and it was pretty fun.
Wiffle ball will humble any man or woman.
I was awful,
but there is it's crazy. Like people are building these like wiffle ball like parks in the back. And if you go on, that's like TikTok and all this kind of shit, and they're like live feed games. And these guys are like they were actually on the MLB Network, like one of the top pitchers throwing wiffle balls to former major leaguers, and it's sick. These guys are throwing crazy. balls.
It's dipping.
But like your backyard, they're like Fenway, and I feel like a lot of them are Massachusetts. I don't know what it is. Like I hate Massachusetts, but like everyone in Massachusetts, I feel like that's where it's all.
That's not surprising. Keith's probably that's what Keith's up there for. He's doing wiffle ball.
Yeah, Keith, are you? He's in Vermont though. Don't make fun of Vermont. It's my alma mater. But yeah, anybody up there in the Northeast and Massachusetts up there like that. But it's crazy. Like if you check that out, wiffle ball, the wiffle ball leagues are sick. I feel like these people are putting in a lot of time into building
For
like their
something
backyard games.
I mean, it's fun.
But wiffle ball is fun as fuck. Our kids
is.
have done that with my uncle, with their uncle. My boys want to keep doing it, and inevitably we turn it into something that shouldn't be, which is like having
Drinking
fun.
game?
No, not drinking.
Not with
it's
the
just more
kids,
like
obviously.
no,
but-
it turns into like the craziest competitive.
Yeah, well,
Like our family is super competitive. Like we can't do anything. Like we can't play Pictionary. We can't.
start throwing.
We can't do
throwing
anything.
blows.
If you lose, like the making fun of people comes in, then you get made fun of. You're pissed off. It's like like we can't even play Uno, any card. Like I don't play card games with my family.
Spades. Throw some spades.
No, I don't play. I don't play any. Listen, I don't play. Number one, my dad. I love. This is my opportunity to make fun of my dad. My dad is like the most uber competitive person I've ever met. And when you get in cards, my dad would literally slit his own son's throat to win a card game.
Jeez.
Literally, he would.
That's
I'm not. We're not even talking about poker to win 5,000. We're talking about Uno. We're talking about phase 10. We're talking about card games.
War.
He's all about winning, and if you don't like our family, card games are just not. We don't do anything. We don't do anything that involves
competition.
What's crazy is one of my sons is he's working. He would be down here playing video games, freaking out. He'll be down here a couple hours. I should stay live so you can hear him freak out.
See that Xbox over there?
Oh yeah, I see it over there.
I do. We squat up on Call of Duty.
He's squatting.
Yeah.
No. So you talk about video games. You're like leading into my questions. I know you were eyeballing it over there. So you talked about you're a video gamer, right?
I mean, I'm not gonna say
Come
game.
on.
Yeah, I mean,
what games are you playing to?
I play.
You say he plays video games to relax.
Yes.
My son plays video games to scream and yell, and I'm deaf. To wake me up at 1:15 in the morning, I think I have to go to the lockbox where the gun is that someone's coming in the house.
No,
we come down to the basement and be like, dude, what are you doing? He's like, you don't understand this fucking game. I'm like, you're playing MLB 2022. You don't understand. I'm just like, no, you don't understand. If you scream one more time in the middle of the night, I'm gonna come down here and shoot you. So what's your game?
So a bunch of friends I grew up with, we just jump on and play Call of Duty group chat, and we'll just play. I mean, it's not like that serious. And then a couple buddies of mine will we'll get on PGA 2K23.
PGA is good. I play.
We'll play skins for some credits.
I used to play PGA and tell my kids they don't have space on their Xbox and they always delete. Like that's the one game I like to play. Yeah. PGA.
Yeah, I'll play. One of my buddies actually lives in Columbus. He's in Cleveland now, which is kind of funny. Me and him will play, late night for some credits, and I think he's up on me a little bit right now.
He's hitting you up. You're getting.
I'm gonna have a text afterwards, like, "Damn right, you better pay me."
Mine don't play it like they're playing the MLB.
See, I like playing.
Which is crazy.
Honestly, I like playing. It just like getting social. Like the wife will like, I'm tired. I want to go to bed. And it's like, all right, we'll go play some Call of Duty, chat with the boys for a little bit.
I can't do the Call of Duty shit because it's so. I do all the campaign stuff. Like my kids will be like, "Dad, you cannot play online." Because I'm playing some 14-year-old kid whose parents have allowed their credit card to build
maxed
like $780 worth of shit.
Buying all the battle passes and shit.
And then like they memorize some game, and it's like, yeah, I don't want to play.
The big thing now is like computers are hacking the game to like find glitches and like. Yeah, so we don't. That's what I said. Like, we don't take it that serious. We go on if we're losing.
Buying kids too.
Like, whatever. Who gives a shit? But it's just like a fun thing to. Like I said,
I love the PGA stuff. Like the PGA, I'm big on that. Like boys, I'll buy you some space to buy. They deleted that because they're like, I'll come down. I want to play golf. They're like, we deleted that off. I was like, motherfucker, do you realize I had gold golf shoes on this game? Like, what are you doing?
Yeah, the new one's coming out with Tiger on it in like 2-3 weeks.
Yeah, I think, but the Call of Duty stuff, I can't get behind the Call of Duty stuff. Yeah.
I mean, it's fun. I mean, like I said,
it's not fun though. Thing. These kids like I listen to my sons down here, and I listen to my sons down here, and honestly, if I rewind back to like 1989, and my sons are talking to me, and I'm their friend, the way they say shit to me, I was like,
yeah. Oh,
I'm gonna beat your ass.
We even mute.
And they're literally
everybody else.
They're literally 4 houses away. I was like, they'll be like, fucking idiot! Like, what are you? I mean, it's. Yeah.
We mute
relaxing.
each other.
I like to sit down, relax, play some.
Well,
golf.
It's funny because I'll bust their balls because none of them are ex-military. So I'll be like, muzzle awareness, man. You shot me. What the fuck's going on? Like,
Call of Duty's the worst. Like that's like,
it's not that.
All these guys and my son one time was like, it's not realistic. You play it like it's realistic. I was like, it should be realistic. Yeah. And like all these, like if you shoot a motherfucker with a 249 machine gun.
That's why you play
from
hardcore.
5 feet.
That's why you play hardcore.
Yeah, but
that's
come
what I
on.
play.
They have
It's
all
one
these
shot.
stuff. Like, come on.
I'm not bad.
But you have
99 kills the other.
But you have some
couple weeks ago.
17-year-old, like you have a 13-year-old kid or a 75-year-old,
Well, yeah,
70-year-old guy that's doing that. Like, I can't do it.
But see, I don't care.
And they talk shit. Everybody talks shit on that.
But we
You're
mute
like,
them all. We're just a party chat,
Nah,
just the 5 of us. I don't want to talk to any of those people. Like,
I can't mute my kids when I'm down here with them.
Plus, they'll just get me in
I'm down
trouble.
here doing something, and my sons have been over there playing, and I've literally been like, if I don't leave the basement right now, I'm gonna kill one of you. They're over there freaking out.
Yeah, well,
some goddamn fucking video game. I love it. Don't get me wrong. I love video games. It's the craziest thing. So the key word you said was to relax. Like I watch my kids. None of my kids relax. I watch them like
see, that's different.
They get done. My oldest son came up. We're watching a movie yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
He comes barging upstairs like, Gabe, I have to tell you something. Like Dad saw it. He was gonna tell you about it. Like this fucking game is bullshit. I hit the ball perfect, 110 miles an hour, and I'm just like.
Yeah,
it's a video game. Like
that's how I look at it.
It's a video game.
I don't care. It's just to.
Yeah, but he cares.
Like when we're playing around a PGA with my buddy, we're just sitting there like shooting the shit, playing around, and like, oh, nice putt. And
well, you guys,
damn, I missed that birdie.
What you
nice
can't see right now is Ben is up there right now trying to get to the basement. He's like, I can get down there and play MLB 2022.
The show.
I mean, the show.
Well, yeah. Like my son, he plays Spider-Man game now, and if he gets killed by one of the bad guys, I mean, you think the world is ending.
But it's interesting. The video. What I do like about it though is the video game is they're always on there. Like one of the coolest thing for me is I actually will, if I come down and they're playing. My middle son is in school in Erie, Pennsylvania, and 9 out of 10 times he's on on there, or their friends are talking. I'll grab the headset from them, and they'll be like, we're in the middle of something. And it's, one of the kids, like my oldest is 22. I've known some of his friends since they were, young teenagers. I'll be like, what's going on? How's your mom? How's everybody doing? Like, Dad, this is serious. Like, get off here. We're about to finish. I think
the hard point.
I think my youngest son was like proud about where he's ranked in some baseball game nationally, like this game. And he should be more proud about his ACT score, which isn't great. He's a senior, but he's talking about how he's like in the top 5 nationally in this game. I was like, listen, man, maybe you should be studying English a little bit more than this game or something else. But he's like,
a little bit of math.
But he's like, Dad, I'm in the top 5. I'm like, I don't know how that's going to help you. Maybe it does. But in video game, you can make a lot of money. But
yeah,
it's just
you can. Like I said, it's just jump down, play for sometimes an hour, sometimes 20 minutes. It's just like an unplugged type thing.
Yeah, but I love it because I do know they're down here because they're screaming off their heads. I do know they're in a safe place. In the safe place, the safe place, except for 1:30 in the morning and screaming. Ah! Ah! I think people have actually heard it a couple times with my kids down here. They're crazy, freaking out about video gaming. It's nuts. But so yours is game to play is golf or it's
probably golf, yeah. Golf's the game I probably play. That and Call of Duty I probably play.
But now you told me you're getting into real golf now, though.
Yeah. I it's one of those things where as playing in a Guardians outing, as we're a partner with them, I got to be out there and not embarrass pretty much. So my cousin, he lives up in Michigan. He is a golf pro. In a prior life, he gave up his card for his business now, but he gave me some lessons and trying to just improve. I got to get out there and beat Keith and Nick and Tom.
Is Keith good?
I played with him and Tom and Nick at the Guardians. Nick was striking the ball. So was Keith. They're all pretty good. Yeah.
If you haven't seen Nick
was hitting, like I never played with Nick before. He was playing well.
Nick, you should be hitting less balls and calling me more often. See that?
I set him up for failure.
No, Nick. But how's Keith?
Keith's a lefty.
Is he really?
Yeah, I didn't know that. It kind of shocked me when we got there and he was warming up and I was like, "You lefty?" He's like, "Yeah." Shit, all right.
There's always something wrong about Keith being a lefty. He's from Massachusetts.
Yeah, that's why he's good at wiffle ball up there.
Yeah, wiffle ball, and just give him a hard time about everything sports wise. He loves Massachusetts. He's a lefty, really.
Yeah, he's a lefty. Yeah,
he's a big dude though. You can't make fun of Keith though, except for
I give him shit all the time. I love Keith.
Yeah.
He's awesome.
Lefty.
He's a lefty. Yeah.
Is he right, Keith? You right lefty though? It's kind of weird.
I never actually noticed because I don't see him that much to see him writing. Everything's digital now, so it's a good call. But yeah, no, he's a lefty.
We're learning a lot about Keith. I didn't think I'd learn about that. He's up in Vermont. How you doing? We wish you were here.
He's in the wiffle ball finals.
I'm telling you, we're making fun of the wiffle ball stuff.
No, I know it is.
I see that.
I see it on reels.
People are like grooming backyards. They have fields. It's sick.
Mm-hmm.
And it actually, and these guys are throwing hardcore stuff here. It looks pretty good. I mean,
oh yeah.
But it reminds me, like, I don't know if you remember, like, Jenny Finch. Remember that when she was striking all the major leaguers? She was a softball.
Oh yeah,
Olympic softball pitcher, and then like these guys are doing the same thing. It's kind of like I see that they can do that, but I feel like if they were throwing a baseball,
well, that's like flag football.
Jimmy Rollins is going to hit your ass like every
in flag football. They had a tournament where they had just a regular team play a bunch of former pros, and the regular team beat that ass because it's just a different game. It's just totally different. It's not real football.
Yeah, flag
like
football.
It's just But
I feel like flag
real,
football,
and I don't say real football. I mean, it's not like NFL football. Like there's just different style of play, and they weren't accustomed to it. But
so
what else?
We're talking. One of the things that we talked about. So how is the VA going for you now? You said you're struggling with some stuff.
Awful.
Yeah,
it's a disaster. I'm sure a lot of veterans deal with it. I mean, look, it's improved. I've gotten, my wife and I, she's a big help with that type of stuff, keeping it, on track, and from a legal perspective, I like her insight on that type of stuff. So I've been waiting in an appeal for 2 years for my knee, my neck, my shoulder, my back, all which are VA connected in my opinion through my medical records and stuff. So put myself in some medical debt trying to get right, which, it's your health. You can't put a price on that.
Yeah.
And then, had some lung issues over the past couple of years and went to the VA, ran some tests, diagnostics. They told me I was fine. I knew something was wrong. So I went to a private pulmonologist, and guy was old school doctor. I mean, dude still used carbon paper.
Right.
All right. So, he's old school. He's using carbon paper. And he goes, I've never seen nitrous oxide levels in your lungs this high. I've never seen nitrous oxide levels this high ever in my career. So the VA flat out just lied to my face and said, no, you don't have asthma. And he was like, I'm not. So he gives me 3 inhalers and a breathing machine. And 24 hours later, I call up. He's like, call me tomorrow. Let me know. 24 hours. I feel like a new person. Like literally I could breathe. Like it was phenomenal. So that was one thing. And then, the burn pits, I'm sure a lot of people are familiar with that, with the PAC Act thing that, was very recent. I have diagnosed neurological issues. My frontal lobe doesn't operate the way it should. I had a bunch of diagnostic tests done through the Cleveland Clinic neurology department. And she says that it's either PTSD related, which we're currently trying to treat to decide if it's that or if it's chemically related due to the burn pits, which in that case, if my symptoms like my twitch and memory gaps and, not able to control emotions, all that type of stuff, that doesn't subside through this treatment plan, then she's going to reassess, because she's like, I don't know much about the burn pits. Like we won't be able to actually ascertain what you were exposed to that's causing these issues. So we're hoping that it's related more to the PTSD than chemical, because if it's chemical, then it's degenerative and there's really nothing. Right. So, fingers crossed on that. But it's like one of those things that VA just weren't willing to do. So I was like, you know what? I'm not taking any chances. So I went and got, all my markers done on my neurological test. So if I'm having these issues in 2 or 3 years, I can see the progression of it. But it's like, that's the type of stuff you shouldn't have to undertake yourself financially, especially when you're exposed to, that type of stuff. But at the same time, it's like I said, you can't put a price on it.
Yeah. The things you're talking about, I think we had Andrew was on a friend of his passed away before he came on as an episode. And a lot of it is been connected to, it wasn't 100% connected to service related, but it the burn pit things is people don't realize, a lot of soldiers, a lot of people were literally responsible for burning shit that probably shouldn't have been burned, and
not even
just inhaling
blowing through everywhere.
Just all everywhere. And it's
crazy. We were in our first tour, it was blowing through the barracks, and
crazy.
We went and told command, and they're like, what do you want us to do, move the barracks?
Yeah,
like, kind of. Yeah,
it's crazy. But yeah, the VA thing is, it's funny. Like, so there's a lot of things. I always tell everybody, we try not to be political on the on the podcast, but there's a lot of stuff you definitely need to be pushing your representatives to make sure they're taking care of veterans. I think that the bill about the burn pits thing,
it passed.
It finally
passed.
It took a little while, but
it did not pass the first time.
Yeah,
and then there was some,
which is good, and hopefully it's going to help a lot of people.
Correct.
But yeah, it is sad. But I always say, in the veterans, like, if your company does have good, medical coverage, you definitely should be taking advantage of it. Yeah, you're right. Should the government be taking care of us better? Absolutely. It's a weird thing. It's not going to change overnight, but
it's one of those, like, yeah, you wish it would be better, but at the same time, I'm not gonna.
Yeah, but I haven't been to I haven't been to a VA hospital since 2005.
It's like one of the most. I go there just to get my scripts and some tests. Like getting some. It's like miserable.
Yeah, but I'd rather pay like.
Well, see, that's the thing. Like for just like an X-ray, like why go pay Cleveland Clinic to do it? I'll have my X-ray sent to my orthopedic at UH and let him look.
Yeah,
at
I'd rather. That's what I'm thinking.
Or like a blood draw. Like go to the VA for a blood draw. I mean, if they fuck that up, do it yourself.
Yeah, but I don't know. I feel like number one, it takes a long time. I don't know. I mean, I promised my dad. I keep saying this. I'm going to be better with the VA. My dad loves the VA. My dad wouldn't function without the VA. It's fine. I get it.
Oh, and I honestly, I was the same way. I did not want to do it because when I got out, I tried, and it was just roadblock after roadblock after roadblock, and I went probably 6 years with nothing, and it's gotten bad enough to the point with my, mental issues. My wife really, and nothing like we weren't in any issues. She just wanted to see me get better, and she's like, "You need to get help," and I, made that decision to finally approach the VA and push for it, and it's been helpful. But obviously it's not all going to change overnight, but much better than it was 2-3 years ago. And
I'm gonna start blaming stuff on the burn pit. I'm gonna be like, honey, I was by the burn pit. That's why I'm acting irrational.
Well, it sucks because
I think we all do. I think I make a lot of jokes about it. The only way I get through life is it's funny to me. Like I have to definitely go talk to someone because I'm the same way. It's one of the things you said before. It's funny, the anger, the emotional,
we were trained to find the issues and eliminate the problem. Like this is what I like. Just talking to some psychiatrists, they're like, you're just locked into that mode of everything has to be right. And if you see something like I even noticed it with my kids, like we'd be out playing and everything would be great, and one thing would be out of whack, and I would like hone in on that and like have to fix it instead of enjoying what else was going on around. And it's just like one of those modes you couldn't break. And she has her theories on it, but
don't have your theories on it.
Well, no, the neurologist does.
No, I know.
Yeah, she's like,
I'm the same way. Like I'm folks like my kids. Like it's funny. My kids do. I can't be more proud of my kids than I am, but I'll come down and they'll leave a can down here or something, and I just everything. I shouldn't fixate it, but I do. It's just like and why did you do it? And then someone will be like, well, it wasn't my can, and I'll be like, well, it wasn't my fucking load of laundry that I just washed or dried, and So I don't know if that's it's funny. I don't know if that's everyone. I feel like for us as veterans, I feel like I don't know, because the people in my life, not to put this back on them, but they make me feel like I'm really strange for that. You know what I mean? So it goes back to like maybe it ties in the military, because I'm like, you're overreacting.
People tell me all the time.
Am I overreacting about that? I'm really not overreacting about the one can that was like, it's just, I don't know. So it's definitely
a weird trigger. Yeah, I get it. People tell me all the time that you freak out about like dumb shit, or not even dumb shit. You just like overreact to some things. And it's like, sometimes I do, and I can't help it sometimes. It's just like a snap decision, because that's how your decisions had to be made.
Yeah, but to me, my snap decisions are more about and act like a fool or stupid, like what everyone's gonna perceive as like the small things, right? Like, so if at work, my wife is always like, "Oh my gosh, do you freak out about this at work?" I'm like, "No," but you freak about.
Oh, see, I do.
I don't. That's
obsessive.
Like I feel like there's a differentiate. Like when I'm at work, I don't know if I've talked about this before. I think when I'm at work or out of my house, I feel like I'm more tamed, where I know like what don't get me wrong, I feel that same way, but I just know I can't react the same way I would. Whereas I'm at home, I can act like a fucking idiot and scream and say the most horrible thing, like you're the fucking worst. And then but what's crazy is like my same mentality is there, like, but I don't understand why I'm at home.
Well, you feel more comfortable.
Yeah, but that's more fucked up. These are the people that really care about you.
But
like, that's where I think I care about. Yeah.
See, I'm that way at work though. It's not to that sake. They're all probably shaking their heads.
You need to chill out at work.
It comes off. Maybe it's like sometimes like my friends used to tell me, combative, if you will, and it's like, yeah, maybe, but it's also could be passion, could be motivation, whatever. Or being standing up for what you believe.
Is a word I hear a lot. Like don't get me wrong, I'm not easy about it. I just think it's funny that you're right. It should be the safety zone, but in the safety zone are the people that get the worst of who you are. It's like I find myself flipping out about something, and I completely think it's crazy.
Oh yeah,
I feel like I have to pretend like it's not crazy, and then like try to make you pretend like it's crazy, and then after you tell me it's crazy, I still won't agree it's crazy, and then when I'm by myself, go like, dude, what the fuck is wrong with you?
Yeah,
and you shouldn't act that way, and I'm not going to do this again, and then literally 7 hours later, I do the same thing. So it's
tough, man. It's tough.
It is one of the the funny thing is I'm making a joke about it, but it's 100% serious. I feel like I don't know what it is about us that, and to be honest with you, I see it in everybody. Like I've talked to you enough to know about this. I've talked to other people. I see it with my dad. I see it with the people that have served. I don't understand it. I honestly
failure was never an option for us.
Yeah, but I also think I also take it as like I understand as it's like I feel like it's my like weakness. I
agree with that.
I hate it about me. It absolutely is the reason why.
Oh yeah, I'm in the same boat. Like
I don't like myself a lot of times about it. I don't. I'm angry. I'm not really angry at the moment as much as people think. I just want to.
Oh yeah,
I just want to.
Well, that's like,
I just want to say something, and then like I'm not even that angry, and then I'm mad that I said something, and then I'm
I'll get
super angry about myself for saying something. It's like a vicious cycle that just can't stop.
Because I'll get anxiety attacks, just they'll come out of nowhere. And the most recent one I had that was bad. It took me 4.5 hours to get back from Columbus. And it takes me an hour 45. I just couldn't drive, like all out of whack, like that tunnel vision, the tinnitus, like just all. Right. And I got home, and the kids hadn't seen me in 2 days, and they want to play, and I'm just a disaster. And I felt bad. And like that's the type of shit you feel bad about. It's like they're excited to see you, and you're like, just leave me alone. I don't want to talk.
Yeah.
And you feel bad about it, but it's like you can't control it. Like I was even telling my wife Saturday, me and my son were going to set up for this volleyball tournament, and some dude kind of like cut me off a little bit, and I don't know what it was. Like for 10 to 15 seconds, I felt like I lost total control of my body and like my mouth, like just all out of whack. And like
I laugh because my kids are listening.
And like
I'm gonna say one thing, it's a merge. That my kids know what it means. Like it's a merge. Like I totally know what you're talking about.
I was just like,
my kids will tell a story about the same thing. Somebody tried to cut me off, and it was like the craziest thing. I rolled down the window and I'm squeezing. It's a fucking merge. And like
I didn't even say anything. I was just like, because my little dude was in the back, and I try to keep it cool when he's around, but I just was like, fuck. But then all of a sudden, like I don't know what it was. It just like almost like paralyzing, and it was like kind of scary because I was driving, but it's just like one of those, and you can't control it. Like I was telling her, she's like, what are you stressed about? I'm like, nothing. I just was at a volleyball court setting up some signs, and we'll be back there later hanging out. Like, what the hell am I stressed about? Like
I don't.
But it's just one of those things where, even sleeping, I thrash in my sleep.
Yeah,
just thrash. Like it sucks. Like
so anybody that's struggling, I think we're all struggling. I don't know what it is. I wish I could put my finger on it. About why we do these things. It's like it's the craziest thing, and I try not to. I try not to blame the military because there's so many great things that come out of like, but I think it just comes. It's not the military; it's just the whole experience of life and things we've seen, the good, the bad, all those things. And I'm just thankful that my family kind of most of the time is understanding about it, and that when I do flip out and act crazy, like it's a fucking merge. Like this is a joke they'll tell until the end of time, but the people that struggle, like if you're really struggling with PTSD, you definitely need to talk to someone. We all need to talk to someone, and that's
lean on each other. The community's tight, and like we're doing something with Vet Ticks and Beam, probably coming up here in the next couple months. We're trying to get veterans, opportunities to go to sports games and events and stuff like that. Like maybe we do something tight. I don't know. Like the community itself is so tight knit. If the VA's failing, lean on each other.
Yeah, the most important thing that we've always said in the podcast is to talk to the veteran. My phone is always open, my door is always open, but definitely you should not lean on me for your professional care. You should definitely call the Veterans Crisis Hotline. You can dial 988 or 1-800-273-8255 and press 1, or you can text 838-255. One of the greatest things about now is just dial 988, and it's the new 911 to talk to people, the professionals. Which they're gonna do the right thing, obviously.
They're good
but
people.
Again, you can lean on the community. And no, they're doing great things. I'm
They are.
hoping to have someone on. I talked to someone over the weekend. I'm hoping to have a true professional on to talk about these things. I'm the farthest thing from a professional. I'm definitely not going to tell you the right thing to say, but I mean, I could be like, wow, I feel that same way about everything's going great, and then all of a sudden it goes off the rails, and then 2 minutes later, what's everybody's fucking problem?
Yeah, dude.
I'm perfectly fine. No, it's crazy, but if you definitely need to talk, that like you need to use those resources. They're out there. Want to thank you for coming on.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
It's been fun. I met you 8 months ago through our favorite guy up in Vermont.
Yes.
So doing great things for Makers. Do we want to talk more about Makers before I?
No, I mean,
I think we have to talk more. We have tons of shit to give away. He's ready to get listen. He's ready to quit too early. Before we talk about all the giveaways, we have a shit ton of stuff to give away. So the backpack, which I posted, which has a ton of shit in it, I don't even know what's in there anymore. Books, whatever. Hold it up. It's heavy right here. You've got to post in the thread you named 4 brands. Name the 4 brands again.
Knob Creek, Jim Beam, Basil Hayden, Maker's Mark.
Name those 4. He just said it for you. To be entered into a randomizer to win this. Anybody else that comments, if you don't do that, or if you comment with that and other things, you're gonna have the opportunity to win some cool stuff. We've got how many of these we have?
10.
10 of these? I think I have more of these. 10
to a
coffee
case.
mugs. They're pretty sweet. We've got 4 Maker's Mark decanters.
Yep. With
Cool
the
ball
cool
on
ball
top.
with has the the family
look at
crest
that.
in there.
Look at
Samuel's
that.
family, 4th generation master distiller, and Star Hill family
If
farm.
I'm analyzing it, the ball seems a little bit more sturdy than the decanter. But
Yeah, it's cool.
it'll make it. We can pack this right for you. If not, I'm sure
I have
Bobby
the
can
boxes
get
still
another one.
here.
He has a box of them. So then the ugly sweaters.
Oh, yeah.
Grab it from Bobby.
There you go.
I think you should put that one on.
Put
your
it
brand.
on.
Dude, it's a medium. It'll fit you.
What do I need to
Put the medium on that. Is everybody on camera there?
Jesus.
Let me-
Killing me. Show them the water bottle.
This is commitment. Well, you've put that on first.
You're lucky.
Brown chicken. Look at him. Look at that
I can't
ugly
wait to
sweater.
see the text
You are going to be
that
the
I
hit
got on
at
this.
any Christmas
things-
party you go here. Look
Look
at
at
that.
that.
And notice, like we said before, bourbon whiskey without an E. Stand up there so they can see it. No E in there, right?
No, I can't see.
Old
whiskey.
school 90 brand. You're going to be the hit of any party you go to.
Yes,
we have
you will.
those. And
People love them, and they're actually really warm.
They actually are pretty. They're great quality. We've got
It's a picnic blanket.
a picnic blanket that we're going to put people in for.
I was gonna give that to your wife for hosting. And
Was it really?
Yeah, I was. Yeah.
Sorry, everybody, you're not getting
You're
this.
not getting it.
The picnic blanket is
Here.
off.
There we go.
So that's gone.
Off the table.
It's off the table. No picnic blanket. There's only one of those. We actually have some water. We got how many?
Swallow water bottles.
Swallow water bottles.
17 ounce.
These are the new thing in there. 17-ounce ones. We've got some
Rambler.
Rambler. How many?
I think there's 5 of those.
5
and
of those.
4
We'll
of
put
the
some
water
Ramblers
bottles.
out. We're gonna figure out. A lot of people are getting a lot of good shit.
Yes, yes, they are.
What else do we have over there?
I think that was it. Yeah.
That's
it.
That's it.
That was it. That was it. I got to bring more shit next time.
No, don't bring more shit. There's so much shit. But honestly, the 4 brands. Name the 4 brands again.
Knob Creek, Basil Hayden, Maker's Mark, Jim Beam.
Okay, post those in this thread. You get a chance to win the backpack, which has a lot of stuff in there. Anybody else that commented in the thread tonight, I'll put you in there to win all this other stuff. I have no idea how I'm going to figure out how you're going to win, but someone can win everything. I think everyone will have an opportunity to win something. Is that better to say that?
What's the other brand?
Oh, the other. They want me to do
there's
the world
some
tour.
brands.
All right, I'll do it really quickly. So in Canada, we
Well,
got
they're putting the pressure on you.
Canadian.
Holy
Yeah,
shit.
thanks. I was almost out.
Wow, guys, he was so good.
I have another hour presentation. No, just Canadian in Canada, we got Canadian Club in Alberta Rye, which if you've seen the cast strength, that won like a double gold.
Alberta
I think in,
Rye
like,
is really good.
2020.
Canadian.
So that's one of our high-end Canadian whiskey. Then you go down into Louisville. We got Jim Beam Brand House, which encompasses Knob Creek, not Maker's Mark, Knob Creek, Basil Hayden, Booker's Little Book, Legent, which is our hybrid Japanese blended American whiskey.
New stuff coming out.
Yep. Then you go over down into we have Cruisin.
Hardin's Creek.
Cruisin is Hardin's Creek's coming. Another LTO from Jim Beam.
year.
We got Maker's Mark over there, which we talked about quite a bit. We
did talk about Maker's Mark?
Nah, a little bit, I think. And then we got our Cruisin' rum line. We got Effin' Vodka down in Mexico. We got Hornitos Tequila, Tres Generaciones Tequila, El Tesoro over in Japan. We got House of Suntory with our Roku Gin, Haku Vodka, and Toki Whiskey. Over in Scotland, we got Lefroy, Akatashin, and Bowmore. And then up in London, we got our one of two distilleries actually in London. Sipsmith is our London Dry Gin. And I think that completes the tour until actually we have some new innovation through our partnership venture with Boston Beer. Truly Vodka is actually a partner with Truly.
Ooh.
There's an unflavored coming Q1 of next year. We have 3 flavors out now, and then we actually just launched Twisted Tea whiskey here in Ohio. It's we're one of 4 test markets in the country.
Have you tried it?
Yeah, I did try it. We did it.
I like Twisted Tea though.
We did it at Razzles for the volleyball.
Was it any good?
With lemonade, it tastes exactly like a Twisted Tea, except
but why do you just have Twisted Tea? Why do you need
because it's just 70 proof. What do you mean? Oh my God, it's good.
At the bar, they had a Twisted Tea on tap. I feel like I'm the only person drinking it. I got the same my Yeti, which most people that know me, I don't go anywhere without this Yeti. I'm like filling it with Twisted Tea. I'm like,
now you got Twisted Tea whiskey. I brought a bottle down.
No,
but
I have never.
We're one of 4 test markets because Ohio just crushes Twisted Tea.
We thought that these guys, you were off the hook for questions, right? So the panel behind the scenes, they tried to hit your knowledge. You nailed it. So now they actually brought another question onto the books that I wasn't going to ask. But so now you named all these things. Mm-hmm. You talked about we're in England, we're in Canada, we're in the U.S. What is your favorite Beam Suntory product?
Oh God.
It could be whiskey or the spirit.
All the marketing people.
Be for real. No, this is what
honestly, I love, and I'm not BS, and I love all our brands.
Guys, that was the final. That's the final question.
Like, love all the brands.
That's going on with the blanket that my wife is not getting.
Perfect. Love all the brands, but honestly, there's a reason I chose Makers for tonight. Love the brand, what they're doing. There with the innovation, the uniqueness of the single barrel program, stuff like this with the Lee Initiative. And not saying Beam doesn't do that stuff because they're doing some of Vet Ticks too. But I just love the Makers brand and what they're doing over there. And so if I had to pick a favorite, it would probably be Maker's Mark. But
so talk about the lead project. Talk about that.
So that was something that kind of was born in 2020 when on-premise was shut down during COVID. Maker's Mark, basically what they did was they partnered with the Lee Initiative to raise money for the bar and restaurant industry. And what they did is they took Maker's Mark Private Selects from multiple different on-premise accounts around the country and blended them in with this bottle. So on the tag there, if you look at it, it has all the on-premise accounts that were part of the barrel pick.
Them off.
So there's like 50 of them. There's 2 from Ohio, Winking Lizard, and I can't remember the other one.
Winking Lizard's close. We know about that.
Winking Lizard and Japs. Those were the 2 just selected from Ohio to be a part of
Where's
it.
Where's that?
I think it's in Cincy,
is it?
Which is outside my responsibility, so I don't really actually know. But yeah, you can see here's blends from all the different states.
I noticed that actually.
Yeah. So that was something that we did, and we brought it back last year. I don't know if they're doing it this year. They may. There's so many brand initiatives right now. I can't keep them all straight. But
I figure because the Massachusetts people got a lot of people on. Nobody. I don't see anybody.
Is that the Keith Keeler one?
Nobody from Massachusetts. Kentucky, Jeff Ruby.
Yeah, Jeff Ruby. That makes sense.
Silver Dollar.
Uh-huh.
Missouri, we got the Parlor.
Don't know.
Mac Brands Whiskey. California, a lot of Cali.
They're a big market too, obviously.
Hook and Ladder. Pacific Cocktail Haven.
He's gonna read down
Georgia.
The list. Everybody's like, shut up.
They're like, stop with this. But I don't think this
try it.
I think I've had the 20
because that one was harder to find because it was during COVID. It was the first
one,
release. The on-premise was shut down, so you couldn't really get it in restaurants. And you guys know how people buy stuff up at retail. So, but I know. Thanks for having me on, and
thanks for coming.
Yeah, absolutely.
So Maker's Marks is his favorite. If I'm going Beam Suntory product, oh my gosh, he's come down. He wants to play.
Here?
I talked about video gaming. He's coming down to play MLB 2002. Come on down, Ben. It's safe.
You're good.
You're safe. Come on down. Or he's getting a beer.
Oh,
one of the two,
but get you one.
Which is awesome. But no, I mean that's great. I mean, Maker's Mark is honestly. If I go back to my early days of whiskey, it has to be Makers. Yeah, I don't know because I used to drink a shit ton of Makers in normal Knob Creek. I mean, I don't know. I go back to the days of like having a bottle of Knob Creek in the freezer, which I can't even comprehend now today that I would do that. But I used to have a bottle of Knob Creek in the freezer. Man,
we got a bunch of good brands.
If you're gonna go off me,
I can see you're torn here, so just try them. Just keep drinking them all, and eventually one day.
I like them all. There's nothing in the beam that I don't like. There's nothing that makers I don't like.
Oh, we appreciate the support.
Which you go back to Beam something with Legend though. It's not my favorite though. That's an interesting.
It's Legion.
You got
to give it another crack.
Legion.
Got to give it another.
I feel like he's got all these. Like I'm pronouncing everything wrong the way, but Legion.
I've let it slide. It's all good. No, I'm just kidding.
It's good though. No, it's good now.
But
Adriana.
There you go.
Look at that. See, I threw it in there.
Got it.
That's good. No, but I think anything with the Beam Suntory product is great. The Suntory Japanese whiskeys are amazing.
Yeah, they're really good. We have a new one, Hibiki Blossom Harmony, and I think that's coming in a couple months. That'll be a LTO from the House of Suntory portfolio, so that'll be highly sought after.
The Japanese whiskeys for me are always a little too floral. I mean, like I don't know. They're not bad, but I just feel like it's. If I'm picking my favorite Beam product,
it's Makers. That's all right.
Like a 15-year, 120 proof
Knob Creek
single barrel. You can't. Those are phenomenal. Although the Hardin's Creek just came out, the new Hardin's Creek stuff. The 2-year price point is really weird for a 2-year whiskey, but the 15-year plus.
Sure.
Because you guys mumped it now. That's what's sort of weird. Try to change it, put it in a can, put a leather top on it. I like it. It's really good. You should grab it. So I'm going my favorite product. Knob Creek. Sorry.
Fair enough.
15-year. 15-year. Perfect.
Like it.
But thanks for coming on.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Bobby is if you're up there tomorrow, if you're up at the Browns game, go see him.
Yeah, KeyBank Lounge.
He's gonna have some Maker's Mark for you to taste. He probably is not gonna have all this swag. He might, but like I said before, name the final 4 before we go.
Knob Creek, Maker's Mark, Basil Hayden, Jim Beam.
Post that in this thread, and you get a chance to win the backpack. All the other shit, we're gonna figure out how everybody wins it. You're gonna win something. We have a ton of stuff here, so. Bobby, thanks for coming on. I'm glad we can work around it. Always welcome to come in and
appreciate you.
Are you ready for the final? There's 2 things we got to do.
What's that?
We got to do the ADA quote first.
Okay.
But I threw my book over there acting all cool, so someone needs to grab the book over there before I do that. But we did find an ADA quote that I found over there. So
is it from Schwarzkopf?
Yeah. So the ADA quote, it's Norman Schwarzkopf. Like so. I'm going back to my days. Don't put it up there yet, Josh. But it was hard to find an ADA quote. So throw it up there now, Josh. We're ready. I think this ties in ADA because we go back to the Patriot days, right?
Sure.
So,
oh, yeah.
General Norman Schwarzkopf said, when the history of Desert Storm is written, the Patriot missile system will be singled out as a key, and its success has ensured UN coalition solidarity. So if you're old school like me, I
remember watching Desert Storm stuff on NBC.
I mean, honestly, what you told us tonight, way cool. I remember the days of the Patriots missile shooting down the Scuds. It was crazy.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So all joking aside, they brought this back to me, the book, but it would be up on the screen. But we have to tonight. Before we go, the worst part of what we do is to honor a fellow patriot that has decided that suicide is the option and it should not be the option. And I'll say this many times before: it's not the right option, and it's unfortunate many of us think that. So tonight we're going to honor Air Force Captain Jamie Brunette. She was 30 years old. Jamie took her life on February 9th, 2015 in Tampa, Florida. She was born in Wisconsin on September 12th, 1984. She joined the Air Force in June 2003 and served on active duty for 11 years before she eventually moved to Tampa and joined the Air Force Reserve. Jamie worked as a financial manager and contracting manager while in the military and deployed to both the Persian Gulf and Afghanistan. She received an Air Mobility Command Award for her outstanding work in overseeing contracts for multiple bases in Afghanistan. At the time of her death, Jamie was in the middle of opening a fitness business, Orange Theory. with other business partners. She was known as being a passionate athlete, scholar, and entrepreneur. Jamie is survived by her sisters Jackie, Renee, and Nikki, her brother Paul, her 4 nephews Trevor, Oliver, Isaac, and Simon, and countless friends and colleagues throughout her military and civilian career. You should definitely look into her. She has an interesting story. There's a lot of stuff that when you talk about women in the military and suicide, there's some stuff that leads to her having some sexual assault issues when she was deployed. So it's definitely something to look into, and it's always important, no matter who the service member is, that we all feel the same way. But if you're feeling the same way that Jamie felt, you definitely should reach out to whoever you can. You should reach out to the Veterans Crisis Line, dial 988 or 1-800-273-8255 and press 1, or text 838-255. And like I said before, if you're local, my number is always available. You can DM me. I don't know if I'm the best person to talk to, but definitely give me a holler, and I'll definitely lead you to the right place. So thank you again, Bobby, for coming on.
Thank you.
Sorry, I threw my book over there.
You're good.
Sorry. It
was
seemed so
for
cool
dramatic
at
effect.
the time.
I
It was
liked
so
it.
dramatic at the time, but I was like, shit, I shouldn't have done that. But it's cool. Thanks for coming on, Bobby.
Yes, sir.
I appreciate it.
Back
Hope
at
we
ya.
have you soon. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you, everyone. We'll see you
Have a
next
good night,
week,
everyone.
actually, for episode 16. We have a quick turnaround for next week, next Thursday. So we'll
There
see
you
you
go.
guys in a week.
Take care.
Take care.